ontogeny. All right, let's see if that did it. Let me know if you can see or hear me right now, preferably both, ideally. But welcome, everybody, to the Badlands Dinosaur Museum. Let's see. All right, brilliant. Hello, hello. Welcome to Paleontologizing, one and all, and welcome to Dickinson, North Dakota. Welcome to the Badlands Dinosaur Museum. We're going to have a really cool stream today. This is my second stream from here, and we looked around the exhibit hall yesterday, all throughout here. Today, we're going to be looking at the fossil lab and at the fossil collection, so I'm very excited to share that with you. How's my volume right now? Is it pretty good? Let me know. And for anybody who might be new here, welcome to Paleontologizing. My name is Danny Anduza. I'm a dinosaur paleontologist, and I do science outreach full-time here on Twitch. This is, believe it or not, how I make my living. This is how I fund my research and my field work, and obviously how I do outreach. Let's see, hello, paleontologists. Thank you for bringing us back. You bet, Golganak. Thanks for being here again. Yeah. This is day 2 of 2. Very excited. This is a museum that is particularly near and dear to my heart. My old crew chief, Denver Fowler, helps run this museum. He's the curator of paleontology here. We'll also be meeting some of the other people who work here. We're going to be meeting Steve and Deanna and Amanda, who all work in the lab and in collections. So, yeah, it's going to be a real kind of who's who of the paleontology side of the museum here. I'm excited for you to meet everybody. Denver Fowler was my crew chief back when I was in Montana, working with Museum of the Rockies, and done a lot of field work together, and in, I think it was 2015, he got hired as the curator of paleontology here, right after he finished his PhD. And yeah, back in 2017, I helped build some of the exhibits here and collected a bunch of fossils with Denver and with Liz Friedman Fowler too. And we talked a lot about that yesterday. We're going to take a look at the lab, and we're going to see some of the fossils they've been collecting over the past few summers. Really, really vibrant field program here. Like I said yesterday, this museum punches well above its weight. They've got, I think, the largest collection of dinosaurs in North Dakota. They've got the most vibrant and productive field program anywhere in the northern Great Plains of the United States. This might be a small museum, but man, do they produce some big work, and a lot of it, and I'm excited to show you around. Pull up chat here again, so make sure. Yeah, there we go. Yeah. Excellent. Let's go ahead and go into the lab without further ado. There we go, right there. There's Steve. There's Deanna, and here's the lab. All right. Hey, Steve. Doing? Thank you.
Yep.
Yeah. Welcome to the lab, everybody. This is Steve Clausen right here, who is chief preparator?
Paleo laboratory manager, but yeah, effectively.
Paleo lab manager. Nice. Yeah. Nice. Cool. How long have you been doing this?
So I've been lab manager over 3 years now. Mm-hmm. I've been with the field crew more than 7 years.
Nice. Very cool.
Yeah, it's been a little run.
Yeah. Awesome.
And pretty soon you'll see things have accumulated. Those 3 months a year in the field, stuff really builds up.
And it really is impressive, the duration of fieldwork time you guys spend out there every year. It
used to feel insane. But now it comes, it goes. We're back in the lab. It's just what we do. I was talking to a few people earlier. It's like, how much of my life have I actually spent living in a tent? Like, you add that up, I'm at like 3 years and some change of my life just living in the woods, so to speak.
But it's really cool that you go out and you collect these things in the field, and then you work on them here in the lab too. Like, you've got a perspective there that not every lab person has, you know?
Yeah, that's true. I get to, I have both sides of the coin, so to speak.
Yeah.
So I'm also a field crew chief. We have effectively 3 full-time field crew chiefs, but we'd like to get a 4th going. I mean, we're expanding even more.
Yeah.
You think we have a backlog? No, we want to do even more work out there. But yeah, 3/4 of the year, this is where I spend my time. Typically with a small army of volunteers, depending. Saturdays are big, Fridays are big. So today's a bit of a slow day, but that's okay. I plan my week around it.
Yeah. Nice. Earlier, we brought this over from storage nearby.
Yes, we did.
Tell us about this jacket here. And,
so let me clear some of the tools from it.
Yeah, no worries.
We're going to cut this open on stream.
Which is super exciting. Thank you for suggesting that. This is going to be...
Yeah, it's this jacket was heavier than I remember. So I've been wondering, will this cast cutter actually do the job? If it doesn't, I'm going to have to think outside the box. This is something we found this year at our site, Jack's Bone Bed. I don't know if anybody
We talked
was familiar.
a bit about it yesterday. We saw the pterosaur bones.
Incredible site.
Yeah.
The most multi-taxic bone bed I've ever seen. This is part, we believe, of a Procerolophus that's coming out. I finished the maxilla a couple months ago. We've got skull bits, we've got big limb bones, and so this is the sacrum. I believe it's a complete sacrum.
Nice.
I helped pull this thing out of the field, but I didn't collect it. I didn't jacket it. So we're going to find out
Very cool.
what it looks like. Sacra are particularly tough sometimes because they have really thin, slender projections. They're in Tyrannosaur sacrum over there. They can be very, pneumatic. In terms of duckbills, I haven't done a lot of sacra, so this is going to be a relearning project for me.
Very, very cool. Yeah. So for anybody wondering, the sacrum, that's like the vertebrae in the pelvis.
Yeah,
they tend to fuse together. Yeah.
The ilia. It's the bone that doesn't get any attention in the skeletal diagrams. You have to really look to try to find it. Yeah. But it exists, and they can be telling. I'm told. I'm not a duckbill researcher, but.
This is where the second brain was supposed to be in stegosaurs, if you heard that old canard. Yeah. But yeah, very cool. And then, I don't know, one of the things that, when we're back home in my office and we're watching videos or something like that on stream of like a prep lab, usually they tend to look pretty clean, and that always feels a little inauthentic. So I'm glad that everybody's going to be able to see what it's really like in a fossil prep lab today.
When we have like an event or something and tours coming through, we make it takes a whole day to get this space cleaned. And I could do that 2-3 times a week, and then we wouldn't be getting anything done.
Yeah.
So this is actually a little cleaner than it normally looks. But ultimately, we are processing a lot of big fossils in such a small space. I'm really happy we're going to be growing soon.
Yeah.
But we still need things like people to get in here and prepare fossils.
Yep.
We need a bit more equipment. And I know we'll be able to do that, but some help.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, if anybody wants to help, I'm right here.
We've got those commands in the chat too, if you'd like to purchase something from the merch store, or even better, if you'd like to help purchase prep time for these fossils. Deanna here is actually going to be working on some of this stuff, so you're paying for her time, and I'm sure she really appreciates that too.
I do.
Yeah.
I'm finally living my
Deanna's
dream.
our resident contract preparator.
Yeah. So yeah, go ahead.
Deanna specializes in most of the really small, delicate things. Deanna has prepared every bone in that pterosaur, every bone for the most part in the troodontid. She is always going through the micro bags from Jack's because we don't expose these things in the field.
Right.
We recognize there's a bone and we collect a big chunk of rock effectively so we don't damage it.
Yeah, you don't want to feel gross.
So in these bags of random pieces, you find little vertebrae, this and that, and occasionally like a gem in the rough. She had found a pterosaur vertebra that somebody collected, didn't quite understand what it was, threw it in the bag. But that's how it works. We have dozens of people working that site, all volunteers on Jack's Bone Bed.
So if anybody wants to volunteer here in the lab and they can get themselves to Dickinson, North Dakota,
absolutely,
then they should.
Yeah, I'm looking for everyone possible, especially if you can make a regular commitment.
Yeah.
For that means different things. If you're in Dickinson, I would like 1 day a week or 2 days, 4 hours a week, for example. I have some people who come and work 3 or 4 weeks straight, and just that every year. I have somebody in April that'll just come in April and go.
Nice.
To me, that's very regular.
Yeah.
that's a big commitment. We can work things out basically. So for that, I would suggest emailing me.
Yeah.
I don't know if we can put that in.
Yeah, sure. We could do that. Yeah.
Link to it or something.
If you just say your email, they can put it in the. Somebody can type it in the chat if you want.
Yeah. So Stephen.Clausen, that's Steven. .Clausen, CLAWSON, at DickinsonGov.com.
Nice.
Remember that, DickinsonGov.com.
A little confusing.
Dickinson,
but yeah.
Texas stole our .gov. So.
Oh, yeah, shoot.
So we're left with that.
Cool. Yeah, so like we were talking about yesterday, there's so many cool things happening at this museum and so much cool field work and research, but the one like real bottleneck that we have here is fossil prep. So like bringing new jackets like this back from the field, these need to be opened, they need to be cleaned, everything needs to be, glued and consolidated and looked after and put into collections. And
they take about 30 times as much time and attention in the lab as they do in the field. That's why most museums doing field work have a backlog. Mm-hmm. Every museum I've ever worked for, we have a backlog. I'm here from Chicago originally. I started with the Field Museum.
Nice.
I'm here because this is the best, craziest assortment of fossils I've ever had to work on. The most exciting projects in a lab right now, in my opinion. I mean, we have an articulated tyrannosaur behind you, for example. Mm-hmm. Just it's in my lab, maybe one of the best tyrannosaurs on Earth. Used as a table for something.
I mean, we've got limited spacing here, but you're really making the most of it. Yeah.
Right.
So, will we be able to see you working on this later, possibly?
I think we can do a demonstration.
Yeah, that would be really cool.
I'm set up for that. We have some loud tools. All the tools are off right now. Mm-hmm. Just to give you a sense of, how quiet it can get.
Yeah.
Things will change eventually.
I remember, I don't know, when we sometimes look at prep videos when I'm back on my office on stream. Yeah. People go like, "What's that? It sounds like a giant mosquito from hell or something." What's that noise? It's the air scribes usually.
Yeah. They make all different sorts of noises, like little mosquitoes to, you'll see our biggest air scribe. That makes
the Bronto?
Noise. Yeah.
I've heard about this. Yeah, I'm excited to see it in action. Yeah.
So we are happy. We consider Zoic Paleotech a partner here.
Yeah, there we go. There's the poster up there.
We have most of their lineup of tools. They're just wonderful sorts of tools, especially for microscope work. Many of their tools have pins that lock in place, so we have none of that spinny action you see in other brands, Paleo Tools, for example. Mm-hmm. I can show a couple off. So this is what, if you have people in there that have seen fossil prep or done fossil prep, this is a Paleo Tools air scribe. Yeah. This is what they look like. Fairly simple design. It sends air through this chamber, and then this is has a push plate with an O-ring attached to a spring, so it moves back and forth. Mm-hmm. But this spins. So under a scope, no matter how I sharpen this, it's never going to be perfect if I'm at like 50x. Mm-hmm. So we really don't use these anymore. This is one of the most precise air scribes I've ever used. This is the Zoic Velour, they call it. Yeah, so...
Velour?
Velour.
Oh,
Velour, yeah.
Like the dromaeosaur?
Yeah, that one.
Nice.
Yeah. So there's a spring in there. As I spin this away, the spring gets a little longer, and so you go from pulverizing matrix to chipping matrix. We work on some fossil fish for volunteer training, for example. Yeah. And so this, because the tip doesn't spin and it can chip, it has all these different settings. There's only one here right now. We have another on order, but her and I fight over it all the time. Before I was just using microjacks, and I'm glad to have been exposed to a wide series of tools. Yeah. If anybody's familiar with the German tools like the HW air scribes, a lot of these are similar in build and quality. It's just you can buy these. Yeah. Nice. Zoic is great.
Very cool. Yeah, so if anybody is not at all familiar with air scribes, it's basically like a tiny little pneumatic jackhammer. Is that a fair way to put it?
Yeah, that's the best way.
So you're just chiseling away tiny little bits of matrix, little bits of the surrounding rock, bit by little bit.
They were born from industrial air engravers.
Oh, okay.
So everything you see here is custom built for fossil preparation in particular. But there are still some models of scribe we use, Ingersoll Rand models that are made for writing numbers.
Gotcha. It's like an engraving tool.
Yeah. And we do some engraving with the tools too. You know,
Neat.
write my name on my favorite scribes.
Now this is brand new today. The accordion setup here.
So this is a little wild, so to speak.
Wild, yeah.
So you pronounce it Wild.
Wild, German, yeah.
All the microscopes in here, with just a couple exceptions,
Swiss, maybe.
are Swiss Wild scopes. The advantage for us is that all of these parts are interchangeable.
Nice.
So I have the accordion thing on here, but what this is really called is an ergo module. It's built just for ergonomics. So this is my training scope. We were talking about this beam splitter here. This trainer bar is what we call it. This it's the image to these oculars for an observer. So I'll have a volunteer sitting here that can look through these
as you're working,
while I am standing. And this can be adjusted.
That's
So
cool.
if this moves to another station and I'm sitting, this is fine. Then it'll go up, and nothing happens to the optics. So no matter where it goes.
That's really neat.
And we sort of need more of this.
Right.
You'll see this guy. That could use something like this. I'll direct you over to this scope here. This is something in this lab Deanna and I also fight over. This
nice.
ergo module.
Yeah.
Now, it might look insignificant, but
When you're there for hours at a time.
right, and my neck used to crane, and then I started using these so much better, even just with that little move. And the amount of gears and optics and glass to make this happen inside of this thing is crazy. And like I was saying, this is all modular, so I can take this off, put this back on, and give that to Deanna.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
And I still have a clear image. So
Very cool.
When I'm talking about making the lab more ergonomic,
This is what you're talking about.
This is the biggest category.
Yeah. It's making it easier, like on our own bodies to make sure that.
We
Yeah.
also have things like photo tubes.
Oh, very nice.
I can exchange this among all these scopes. Right now I have an eyepiece in there, so you can look in if I send the photo there. But this
But
is
you can
meant
put a
for
camera on there.
Yeah, this is meant for a camera setup.
Nice.
And yeah, we have some of that in the other room. My poster at SVP, I had a lot of pictures of microfossils that I took using this tube.
Very nice. Yeah. Super cool. We've already had a couple people ask if you would ever consider live streaming any of your work here.
I just started.
Oh, nice.
So
Very cool.
I own my own lab for experiments. So I don't sell fossils, but I work mostly on fish fossils and things. I have some really good scope setups, and I thought maybe a few people might want to watch this.
Yeah.
So that's at Natural History Studio on YouTube.
Oh, nice.
I'm doing YouTube streaming. I've done Facebook as well. I'm still figuring it out. Like I did my second one 2 days ago.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
And then they've been late at night.
That's exciting,
It out.
yeah.
But what it is ASMR, so you can just see me doing work. Brushing off fossil scales, fossil feathers, this
Very
and that.
cool,
Yeah, that's for the micro prep. Things like big dinosaur bones, including this duckbill jaw here. This is a Brachylophosaurus jaw from Montana. That's a bighorn bone. Yeah, that's from a bighorn bone, but it's Campanian. So it's about 76 million years old. This was completed in the lab recently by one of these 3-4 week volunteers, Brian Avazian. He came to us from the Tate, JP's lab.
Casper, yeah.
Yeah, and he just wanted to get some exposure with Cretaceous fossils.
Very cool. Yeah.
When it comes to volunteering, that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
In terms of lodging, we try to accommodate people. We try to find them a good cheap place. Lately, the university has been working with us
Nice.
to maybe rent out some dorms cheaply. So there's lots of things that can be worked.
Very cool.
If you want to come here, spend some time and learn how to do this, because it will benefit us fundamentally.
Yeah.
But also you.
Yeah.
You can get into this as a hobby, a career. There are a lot of hobbyists that just have a microscope and some air scribes and just do their own thing.
Yeah. If you've ever wanted to contribute to dinosaur paleontology in a way that's legitimately meaningful, this is a way that you can do that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Everybody starts by volunteering. I don't know one professional preparator who wasn't there.
Right.
All the volunteers that were with me at the Field Museum when I started in about 2008, about half of them are working professionals now.
Nice.
So just do the math on that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm using the same techniques here.
It's
The
fine,
noises I'm talking about.
Yeah, so the lab is not always a quiet place. So that's the air compressor there, right? Or yeah,
Yeah, that's a 2 horsepower 20-watt air compressor.
nice.
And usually they're much louder. This is considered a silent air compressor.
Very silent.
Yeah, very silent. I have a bunch of hoses and things, and no matter how much I tighten them over the fittings and connections, we're always bleeding a little bit of air when
Yeah.
things are plugged in. So every once in a while it has to turn on.
In order to take that pressure back
if
up.
I
Yeah.
have air scribes or air abrasion going, it's constantly turning on. But the new lab, we want a nice big centralized air compressor.
So it would be like in another room, right?
Yeah, in a soundproof room just
Yeah.
far away, if not outside of the building.
Yeah.
They're still working that out.
It is really nice when you have that, and it's got the dust collector in it and all that stuff. Like,
Yeah. When it's just built in to the facility, that's one of the ways we're limited right now. So I can have, let's say I have 5 volunteers in here. We can't be generating too much dust on each station.
Yeah.
We have 2 stations that are fully extracted. This is a mobile dust extractor.
Yeah, look at that.
I clean the filters a couple times a year.
nice.
It does its job, but of course this gets in the way.
Yeah, that's
What
a big footprint.
we want them to be hanging up in the air,
Yeah.
all attached to a single unit.
Uh-huh.
But this is what we have to work with. So when I'm over there sawing into that jacket, I don't want to be breathing plaster dust, so
Yep.
so I wear a respirator, I wear goggles. We're very mindful of safety here. These are anti-vibration gloves. These
Yeah.
are really important for what
You
I do.
told me about those actually once. It was via Twitter years ago. I saw you in a picture
Oh, yeah.
wearing those gloves, and I asked you about them, and you very kindly responded right away, and I got the same exact ones. So
Yeah, and we have different models. These are one of my favorites. When I'm working on the block, I prefer a model that actually has the pinky finger enclosed.
Yeah, it
Because-
has pinky and ring finger, I think, on the ones that
Yeah,
and it was tan colored instead of red. Yeah.
When the hand is moving up against the block, that sandstone, it's a calcite bound sandstone concretion. It's very, very abrasive. I'm crawling on sandpaper.
Yeah.
You know, they say the astronauts when they're on the moon,
Uh-huh.
their suits were all torn up by the time they
Oh, really?
got back because that moon dust is silica.
Yeah, yeah.
This is silica, and it just grinds up. My finger. I was noticing it would get like very sore. So, for demonstration's sake, it doesn't matter. It's just like constant battering. Sometimes.
Yeah. When you're doing the stuff day in and day out, like you really got to pay attention to that repetitive stress, repetitive abrasion,
Right.
all that stuff.
Yeah, and just like I was talking about ergonomics, she's sitting in a very special chair right now that helps the back, but you can also spin it around and use it to lean over in front of the block.
That's really cool.
Do you want to use it for your demonstration?
I could use it for a demonstration. Yeah, they're really cool. So we do have more of these on order now through this expansion. They're called
Nice.
Capsico chairs, and that's for ultrasound technicians. 'Cause
Oh.
ultrasound techs, they're always,
Yeah.
leaning over the patients. So, we do similar things here.
Yeah.
Not, all these other chairs are pretty comfortable. It's just it's supremely comfortable.
Right. That's cool. I think that's going to be a running theme looking at the lab stuff today is like, here's all these things these different items that were developed for other industries, other applications, and we've been able to use them here.
Exactly.
Just about some of the only things that are particular to paleontology are like the air scribes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All the scopes were designed for surgery.
Right.
These were all surgical scopes on operating tables at some point in time. Every single one of them in here, actually. What other fun stuff do we have? Keep forgetting. Let's see. You might see those bags of hydrocal. I got that from Chicago recently at
Nice.
SVP with just a ton of this in the back of my vehicle.
So that's like casting grade plaster?
Yep.
High quality
So it's called gypsum cement. It looks a lot like plaster of Paris.
Oh,
and
okay.
It mixes a lot like plaster of Paris. Denver and I talk about what could possibly be in this stuff that makes it stronger, because it is a lot stronger. I mean, I believe it if it were like half cement and half plaster.
Interesting.
It takes a little longer to cure, all things depending.
Is that what you used to make the cradles for collections?
Yeah.
Gotcha.
So my cradles are all hydrocal. There are some exceptions. Sometimes some of these smaller bones, like the ones Deanna works on, I use gypsona, which are plaster bandages doctors use to make casts. So that's
viewers saw that a lot the past couple of summers. We used those a lot in Utah.
Yeah.
The Utah Geological Survey crews, they love those. Yeah.
I've used it to make jackets as well. It has all sorts of applications, and it can make really, really strong cradles.
Yeah.
If you do it right. That's something I can teach you if you come here.
Nice. Yeah.
We can't learn everything today.
Yeah. Let's take a look at the Tyrannosaur. I know we looked at this a little bit yesterday at the end of the stream, but you weren't here then.
This bag out of the way, maybe.
Yeah. It's nice to get it from
It's
this
got a
perspective,
light
too.
coating of dust on them right now. Often we cover a lot of the bones when I'm working so they don't get repeatedly battered with dust. Yeah, so what you're looking at is the tip of the tail here.
Yeah.
And the tail that's in that sand pit, it wraps all the way around and goes into the concretion where the plaster is there.
Nice.
And so this is the bottom of the neck. So the neck is curling around here. You see the bottoms of 2 vertebral centra. And then on this side, you see at least the ends of 3 cervical ribs.
Yeah.
And
There's
then
one
one
right here.
and
Yeah.
another here. And probably another one in there.
So you can see this is the proximal end of the cervical rib, and then it thins out like that. So these are sticking out, behind the skull, coming down from the neck. Yeah.
And based on the orientation of the rib on this side, it looks like it's twisting around and plunging back down. We've always figured these are neck vertebrae toward the base of the neck. We've always figured the skull is going to be right about here, and something is pushing these ribs up. Possibly there are ribs here. So
Interesting.
maybe we'll get to that skull really soon.
So hopefully the skull is underneath the
Where
big blanket nest there.
Yeah, underneath my nest. That's how I have to work on it. It wouldn't be very comfortable otherwise. Like the whole time I've been working on this, Deanna and I flip on this. We're wondering, like, where is the back? Like, we've taken off maybe 2,000 pounds of sediment already.
Just one grain at a time,
does this
practically.
thing not have a back? And finally, we have 3 neural spines.
Nice.
That would be
Dorsal
from
vertebrae.
dorsal vertebrae. So
Yeah.
it's just everything is very, very deep in here.
Uh-huh.
When I say deep, I actually mean shallow because this block's been flipped around.
Right. So we're looking at the ventral side, the underside
Yeah.
here. Yeah.
So when we were carving it out in the field, I'm sitting on what was the pedestal that this thing rested on for a couple of years before we were able to recover it.
Yeah.
This is either the first or the second fossil airlifted with a Chinook, a dual rotor helicopter.
CH-47, yeah.
That was Destiny's talk at SVP. It was worth seeing. So we had to prepare it for just a very unique maneuver, which was I think is crazy enough to publish on.
Definitely, yeah.
Something we may end up doing.
Did you guys get video of that? I know I've seen photos.
We do have a video.
Awesome.
You should check that out.
Yeah.
Everybody should check that out.
Yeah.
I don't know where to find it right now, but Destiny Wolf, who's one of our board members, she talked about that in her SVP presentation. It was wild. I'll say that
That's
much.
so cool, yeah.
But it worked. We over-engineered it. It's sitting on the lifting frame.
Yeah.
That was
There it
used.
is right there.
And we had to hand carry out every one of these steel bars for. I don't think the hike might be about a mile, but it feels more than that because you're going up and down. And and then on the day we did that, one of the worst storms I've ever seen blew in, so we had to finish bringing them and bolting them, and then ran away.
Before it got struck by lightning.
Yeah, there were a lot of harrowing tales out there.
Yeah. That's how fieldwork goes sometimes.
That's right.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
timeline on this.
Uh-huh.
Do we want to get this cutting?
Maybe after. Well, I don't know. Let's see. Because this is once you open this, it's like you could just keep working on it until.
Right.
Yeah. Do you want to climb up on there and
Yeah.
just kind of show us how this works? 'Cause I think they'd love to see that.
I can give a demonstration.
Yeah. Everybody in the chat is loving this, by the way. We've got 262 people watching
I'm
so
going to
far.
do something. My director laughs about this, but
Yeah.
honestly, when I'm kicking,
You got to vault up onto it.
When I'm kicking my feet up,
Uh huh.
it's very uncomfortable. So I take my shoes off, and then I have to get my bearing. So this scope was donated by a very good friend of mine. It lets me go over the place.
Wow.
All over the place.
They have a similar one on the Utah Raptor Mega Block.
And the same friend worked with me to make that happen.
That's awesome, yeah.
I know all the microscope
Small world,
people.
yeah.
Yeah. So it has what you call a long distance working objective, which means I can be further away from the fossil when I work on
and you
it.
still get the same kind of magnification.
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah, so I position it, and then, because this is bone, I would normally work on that with a finer tool. What I'm going to showcase instead
There we go.
is what I call the overburden, which is generally a term we use in the field for all the rock that's above the fossil that we have to jackhammer away. Could you actually lift that light and hand it to me?
You bet.
The base.
Here. It's a little bit caught. Let me give some slack there. Yeah.
Okay, so usually I use two, like bidirectional light. But this, I don't expect much to be in here. This is the layers that are,
that was the pedestal.
And we do have marks of discovery, so you can't avoid it. But we make sure they're very small.
Yeah.
So this is the Zoic Bronto.
That is enormous.
Modded this one a bit, so I've taken the rubber handle off of it. I think this makes it easier for me to feel what's going on.
Gotcha. And then you kind of make up for that with the gloves.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And for people who understand air compressors, this runs on 20 to 30 psi, really low. So it still hogs air, but not as much as things like the paleo tools do.
Interesting.
So I'm going to turn this on and just do a little demo.
Yeah.
That would be nice if I would plug it in to the air supply.
Should I put some safety goggles on? Because I don't wear glasses? Yeah.
That'd be a good idea.
Let me go grab those real quick out of, there's some in Denver's office there. There we go. But how cool is this? Oh, man. People have been asking for fossil prep streams for a while, and I don't have a facility back home. So this is super cool to be able to stream. There we go.
Yeah. Goggles now?
Yeah.
All right. I often use them too, even though I wear glasses.
Yeah.
Because I don't want to chip them. It's like a motorbike, isn't it?
Yeah, it really is.
Yeah, this.
That is impressive. Jeez, it's a high caliber air scribe.
Yeah, for its small size, it does what air scribes double its size elsewhere can do. You notice I use both hands, or else I wouldn't be able to do anything. Really. Got to use both hands, and I use a 45-degree angle typically. Most of the time I tell people, you let the tool do the work, but there is a little pressure you have to put. And I know that because I've done all of this.
So, I mean, I hope everybody realizes now where all those score marks come from on there.
But,
those characteristic marks. Next time you go to a museum and then you see an actual fossil specimen with matrix on it and you see those characteristic score marks, that's what this is from. It's from an air scribe like this.
Keeping in mind, I'm doing it without a microscope because I don't expect anything to be up here. There are signs when you're going to hit a bone, especially in this. I know those signs. I have those instincts, but I really don't expect anything here. I would never turn right around this bone here.
Yeah.
That's when I switch to finer tools and I use the microscope.
Right.
Yeah, we have these for a reason. But most of the time,
Yep.
I am doing that.
Very cool.
I hope people got a better idea of how this works.
Definitely.
This is I'm going to take this off.
Sure.
Yeah, here we go. And so Deanna and I often share time on this. I can't do this every single day. If I'm on it for 4 to 8 hours, the next day my hands have to rest.
Yeah.
No matter what you're wearing, you have to give your hands a break. I think the most common issue among all preparators is carpal tunnel.
That makes sense.
Many of my older friends who are preparators have had one or a couple surgeries of that nature.
There's fossil specimens that are like particular specimens that are notorious for giving people carpal tunnel too. Like that Thessalosaur at Museum of the Rockies. I think like 3 different people have gotten carpal tunnel working on that.
The legend of that. Was it maybe Carrie Ansel started on it?
I think so, yeah. And she's like, I don't really don't.
She's had a career of doing big fossils. So I'm going to get my shoes on. Generally don't recommend being shoeless in a lab. There are exceptions.
About how many hours of prep time has gone into this so far, you think, since you opened up the jacket?
We thought about that, so I don't know if you filmed the tail in the sand.
We did, yeah.
That was 400 hours.
Wow.
Almost, I think it was like 450 exactly. So and that was maybe 200 pounds of sediment removed. You translate, it's thousands, several thousand, among her and I on this block. So this has been our resident project for several years now. It'd be a little further along if it wasn't for the fact that we keep finding really cool stuff.
Yeah.
That's our biggest problem, is that we find good things.
It's a good problem to have. Yeah, very, very cool. Wow. Do you plan things out so that like, we're going to keep working on it this month hoping to find the skull, or...
It's always, I'm going to work over here and I hope I find the skull.
Every day,
and then that turns into, you can see this bowl I've carved here. That turns into, I got to go over here now because it's being neglected. But we're just seeing the tip of it. So these are ribs here, the ends are ribs. Then there's another stack of them there. What I think is this is the chest cavity opened up right here. Then the back is going right through the middle. It's a fun guessing game. You hit a bone, you're like, is this articulated?
Right.
Is this, you get excited and then you realize it's a rib that's moved. And some of the ribs have moved, unfortunately. But I wouldn't give it up.
One of the questions that I know I'm going to get is, why don't you just scan the block so you know where everything is, or something like that? Yeah. Can't you use, magic technology in order to just be able to look at the dinosaur inside without doing all this work?
Well, NASA has a facility, that can scan through metal and rock and stuff, but I don't know how many millions it would take to get them to do that, and also to transport it there. And even then, what do we learn? We learn, it has some stuff in here, but it's not taking the rock off for me. There's no handheld device that, like this ground penetrating radar people talk about.
It doesn't work.
Jurassic Park is meant for fun.
Yeah.
It's meant for fun, kids.
It's not a documentary. Yeah. That's one of the most common questions I get in the field, too, is like, can't you just scan this and then download the dinosaurs? Exactly, yeah.
And I think it was Jurassic Park 3 that predicted the onset of 3D printing. Not printing in the field, though. That's a little different.
Yeah, we've got a 3D printer humming away right now in the other room.
Yes, we do.
Printing I think it's the B2 skull, right?
Yeah, so we're making a full-size, very high-definition replica of Sisyphus, or Displetosaurus wilsoni skull. This is going to be painted to match, and is going to be put on display in the gallery next to the actual skull bones and things like that.
We were talking a bit about that yesterday, and that's really exciting. So, yeah, shoot.
And I do 3D printing of my own.
Oh, you do? Nice.
I'm in the middle of making a full-scale model. That's the kind of thing you can take, to events with kids.
Exactly, yeah.
If they drop it on the floor,
it's not the end of the world.
And
it's disappointing, but
less fragile than resin.
Yeah,
Can't
much lighter
capture
too.
As much detail, but even if it breaks, it's not the end of the world sort of thing.
Yeah. I do a lot of 3D printing myself too for like outreach stuff, but I use an FDM printer, not the resin one, so it's a lot more post processing.
I use an advanced FDM.
Nice. Okay.
Yeah, that's a paper that's going to be coming out.
Oh, very cool.
Maybe not this year, but the year next. How to maximize FDM.
Yeah.
And get close to resin quality.
Interesting.
Takes a long time to make the print, but it's possible.
Can I ask you what kind of printer you use?
It's an X1 Carbon Bamboo Lab.
Oh yeah. Okay. Yeah.
So
Nice.
it's their flagship model. And then I went in there and did a little more with it.
Nice. I've just got a couple of Pruses at home, and
Well, those are quality.
Well, they are, yeah, but it's like, I don't know, I'm going for speed rather than for like minute detail. I've got a 0.8 millimeter nozzle on each of them.
Yeah, that's speedy.
Yeah.
I do a lot with 0.2 and 0.4.
Nice.
Yeah. And I like the ability to do multi-materials and multi-colors all at the same time.
Yeah, that's really neat. Yeah.
Yeah, it's done nothing but good for me. I've been doing it since 2012. It's like back in the day.
Oh wow! Shoot.
When you have to level the bed. You spend hours just getting a 20-minute print right. I went through those days, and I tell Deanna I'm almost angry how easy it is.
Yeah.
I love it so much that it makes me mad. So couldn't recommend Bamboo Labs more. I'm not sponsored. I love it.
Neat. Very cool. What do you think? Are you about ready to open up that jacket?
I can do that.
Yeah, I think why not? Yeah.
Let me know if there's any questions.
Will do. Yeah. So this is something that people in the chat have been asking for a long time.
Yeah. Because
I bring back so many jackets every year, working in Wyoming and working in Utah, and everybody always wants to see them open, and I have to say I'm sorry.
Right.
I'm not in the lab. So I think this is going to be pretty cool. Everybody watching right now, hope you realize how lucky you are. And for anybody who's completely unfamiliar with what we're talking about here, this is a field jacket, which is essentially a kind of a plaster and burlap cocoon that we build around a fossil as we're digging it up. It's part of the excavation process. So you build the top of the jacket over, and then you trench around it, kind of dig around it so it's on a pedestal, and then you flip it, and then you jacket the other side. So it's often fully enclosed, and that keeps everything from crumbling, so we can get it back to the laboratory and get it opened.
Yeah. I don't know how well they're hearing me on this.
That's good enough. Yeah.
So safety,
Darth Vader mode.
Safety point. I've seen other labs not follow this. Always label your respirator. Label the filters. You don't want anybody else using your respirator.
Yeah.
That's a big
It's a personal item.
And now I'm not really going to be able to hear you because I have hearing loss. I've been doing this for 17 years, and I haven't been protecting my hearing as good as I should. So I'm going to go away. I can still hear you, okay?
All right.
Oh yeah, I hear you perfect.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. These have noise cancellation.
This is a good spot for me right here?
Yeah, so I'm going to have to turn this extractor on.
Yeah, go for it. It's going to get loud here, chat, but bear with us.
And I'm going to see if this is thick enough to get through this.
Right.
So this is a high crust jacket. Did you explain that?
We would call it the lip is what we always call it. Denver taught me how to make those back in the day, yeah.
So if I cut all the way around, in theory I should be able to just... lift it open. People ask me, why aren't I using an angle grinder or a stronger tool? I have used it in the past. They're a little unsafe.
Yeah. This is a cast cutter, right?
Yeah. So the thing with this is it's safe to touch, not only now.
Yeah.
That looks permanent, doesn't it? But it's totally safe.
Yeah.
So this is the best way to do it. it's getting cool.
Uh-huh.
Take some time to get all
Yeah,
the
for
way
sure.
around.
It's a big perimeter.
Yeah.
No, and it's funny you mentioned the angle grinder thing, and somebody in China just said that right beforehand.
So,
So yeah, not an angle grinder, a cast cutter.
I have one for backup that has a lot of safety features.
Uh-huh.
I really don't use them unless the bastards like this thing.
Yeah.
But it is going through. It'll just take a little while to get it all the way.
Sure, yeah.
So,
No, this is, people are excited about this. It's like Christmas morning on steroids. What's that?
do you want to keep watching?
I think so, yeah. If
do you want to do anything? Do you want
I
to
might walk around a little bit and just look at some of the stuff in the lab as you're working. Yeah.
Where it's ready to pop, and then everybody can see that moment.
That'd be great. Yeah. Maybe I'll go see if Denver can show us a few things in collections and then come back. Does that sound good?
Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe like half an hour or something like that?
Yeah.
Cool. All right. Thanks, Steve.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah. All right. We'll be back there in just a little bit. Set these down here. Don't forget them. Yeah. Very cool. So this is like on a cooking show where all the tedious stuff we're going to do off camera, and then we'll show you the final result. But yeah. Howdy, Denver.
Hey.
Yeah. How's it going?
Oh, pretty good. Just
Yeah.
switched a 3D print over, so
Nice. How's it going?
mostly okay. That one failed. Part of it failed just at the very last bit.
Oh, shoot.
Only one of like 4 bits, but there you are.
Uh-huh.
Not very clear why, but it's alright.
Yeah, the vagaries of 3D printing.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's Amanda right there.
Hello.
How's it going?
It's good.
Yeah.
I've been watching the stream while I.
Oh, cool.
So
Nice. Yeah. Yeah, I think it maybe cut out a few times, but that's only because of the satellite internet. It's not because of anything I did wrong, I don't think. So,
yeah, no, the signal's been pretty good.
Excellent. Yeah.
See, the chat is very concerned about all of the safety procedures and.
Yep.
everything.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Oh, there's you, chat.
Yep.
Nice. All right.
Well, what do you want to see?
What do you want to show us? Shoot.
This is the end of a giant clam.
Is this like a... Wow. Look at that. So this is the hinge right here?
Yeah.
That is a big clam. Is that freshwater or marine?
That's marine.
Marine? Yeah.
That was from this summer. I didn't have the heart to leave it there because
Yeah.
like I always tell people, these things get really big. And that one's not even that big. You know, they get as big as me.
Is that a... That's not one of the rudists from the rudist reefs, is
No,
it?
it's an IMO.
Oh, I'm serrated or something?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
I always like having a good rummage through these sites.
Alright. As you can see, very high-tech, expensive equipment here.
Hey, $10 for that. Yeah, well,
Yeah.
mine's bigger than yours, so no.
Yeah, fair.
So so we have a lot of sites that are like they're not quite microsites, as you'll see. Like in this area near Hinsdale, we have lots of sites that have a lot of bones that are about 1 inch, 1 inch or more. So we get all sorts of odds and ends.
Wow.
This is all sorts of little things. A whole bunch of tyrannosaur teeth.
Yeah, look at the serrations on that. Beautiful. Yeah.
This one has a fantastic web.
Yeah, look at that. Very cool. So that's where it was abrading against bones or another tooth or...
Well, that's what people research.
Yeah.
People think both. These are all little raptor teeth.
Very nice. Dromaeosaurs?
Mostly dromaeosaur teeth. Not
Yeah.
dromaeosaurus, but they'll be
Yeah.
Saurornitholestes. Mate, that one there's a bit twisted, so it might be a dromaeosaurus.
Huh.
Um,
These are Judith River?
yeah.
Yeah. So about... Well, in this part of the Judith, about how old do you think they'd be?
These ones will be about 76 million years old, 76 and a half, something like that.
Nice.
But, we get lots and lots of different pieces in these sites. This is a claw from an ankylosaur.
Oh, an Ankylosaur ungule. Super cool.
Yeah.
Can you tell if it's pedal or manual? It's from the foot or the hand?
I suppose an expert might. I am not an expert on ankylosaurs, so I only find them. This is quite cool. well, I think this is cool. Found this the other day. This is one vertebra from a really big baranoid lizard.
Yeah. Will this be like Paleosanoa?
Yeah.
Nice.
I just found another one of these in another site, actually. So I'm quite excited by them. We've got a few, so that's a little project for someone.
So it's from like a monitor type lizard. Kind of think like a Komodo dragon, but that guy would probably be a little smaller.
This has amber.
Oh, those are big old chunks of amber.
Yeah.
We used to find amber in the Hell Creek, but it'd be like the size of a grain of rice.
You can find amber at all these sites, and once we get enough of it, we send it off to be analysed and look for insects and things.
Nice.
But we always pick it up and bag it up and have it there for future analysis. So, yeah, this site has got lots of odds and ends.
Oh, check out the croc scutes, too. Very cool. Look at those. That classic crocodile-y texture right there. Yeah, nice. So if you see something like this, you know it's croc. Yeah.
It's an armor spike from probably from a nodosaur, I think.
Yeah, because look at the keel on it. Very cool. So yeah, an osteoderm. We were talking a lot about osteoderms last week on stream. So there's one right there, and it's the texture on them is really distinctive. I remember John kind of describing it almost like cornbread or something.
Yeah, it's supposed to be distinctive per species or per group.
But there's probably a lot of variation throughout the animal itself, I imagine.
Again, I'm not really an expert on ankylosaurs, although we have ankylosaurs to describe here, so we'll be learning more about that stuff. But certainly the textures between ankylosaurids and nodosaurids seem very different.
That makes sense. They would have split.
They're very, very different.
Yeah.
But we have a lot of sites like this, and sometimes you get a jumble of lots of different animals. This one's well, you collected a whole bunch of this stuff. This is from Megalag.
Oh yeah, okay, yeah.
So numbers of large teeth. This one was just collected this last year. It's
Nice.
real pretty. And then I got this one, which is not as pretty, but it's big.
Yeah.
So we get lots of teeth.
Can you describe what a lag is for everybody watching?
So a lag is basically it's something that lags behind, that's left behind in a river. So if a river has flowing water, you can imagine that clay, very fine, small things get carried away by the speed of that water, and larger things get left behind. They lag behind. So a lag, usually when we're talking about a lag in a river, we mean like a bunch of pebbles, little pebbles at the bottom of a river. But sometimes those pebbles can include pieces of bone. So this is actually a lag of bone within a sandstone, within a river channel. So we go through and look. There's lots and lots of just weathered chunks, damaged pieces of bone that we collect a few, but we tend to only pick up the stuff that's diagnostic, that tells us the species, or it's got an injury or something like that.
Yeah.
So this is a good example. This is a piece of bone. Don't really know what it is. It looks a bit like it could be part of the pelvis. Maybe part of a limb bone, but it's got an awesome tooth mark across
Look at that, yeah. So a feeding trace. Somebody was chewing on it.
So a tyrannosaur probably went and scraped along the bone. And we actually have a few. This one, I can't really tell what kind of dinosaur it is. It's probably a hadrosaur. It's a spine from one of the vertebrae, but it's got a bite mark on this side
Oh, man.
and on this side.
Yeah.
So that might have been a bite that went like this. So we keep an eye open, even on the random chunks, for little indicators of this kind of thing.
I think I also want to clarify that when we're talking about a lag and we're talking about rivers, we're not talking about a modern river. We're talking about the river that deposited this stuff, that river during the Cretaceous period.
Right.
So these are from the side of a hill or something like that. Very much on dry land today.
So yeah, you get little bits of all these different species. So we get crocodile teeth. These are shark vertebrae.
Oh, freshwater shark.
Or like sharks or guitarfish, I think, something like that. We get crocodile teeth. I can scatter a few of these out in my hand. Little crocodile teeth from this side.
Nice. Yeah.
A little fat one. That one's from probably an Alberta Chamsa.
Is that one of the button teeth from the back of the jaw?
Yeah.
Nice. So what would they have used that for? Like, why would a crocodile need a big, flat, round tooth like that, Denver?
You know the answer to that, don't you?
I do, yeah.
What do you think?
Yeah, for chewing bubble gum, of course. No,
Yeah,
no, for
everybody
cracking
hates
open
turtles.
turtles.
They just want to crunch them, and these crocodiles really like crunching turtles. So
Alligators today will do that. I don't recommend looking up videos of it. It's like honestly really sad. But
it's probably why most of the turtle pieces that we get at these sites look like this.
yeah, yeah.
This is quite a big piece, but most of them are quite crunched up. We actually have surprisingly little good turtle material from these sites. It actually is something that is not well represented.
Weird.
Yeah.
Huh. Is it so it's a sandstone, so it's fluvial. Do you get more turtles in lacustrine strata than in fluvial stuff? Or not really?
I don't really know what the answer to that question is. I mean, obviously turtles live in ponds as well as in rivers.
Yeah.
But this would have been a big sort of swampy floodplain
Yeah,
delta
yeah.
top. There's plenty of turtle pieces,
Uh-huh.
but there's just not many that are intact.
Yeah,
We
yeah.
found a few. Steve was cleaning one up in the lab. We might show you.
Yeah, with the baking powder? Baking
Yeah.
soda? Nice. Yeah, we haven't looked at that yet, but hopefully we will. Yeah.
So just above that site,
Ooh. Oh, man.
there's a nice manual.
Yeah.
Hand claw from a raptor, probably a oviraptorid.
Nice. And look at that blood groove there. Sure.
So we have some of the larger stuff. We just bought a whole load of rubber to do traditional molding and casting. We do the 3D stuff as well, the 3D printing. And this is here's a little jaw from a young. So those are the tooth sockets.
Yeah.
This is would have only been about sort of this sort of.
Wow.
So just a little guy.
Yeah. Beautiful. That's
Yeah,
so
we-
cool seeing the tooth sockets there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Neat. Very neat.
Yeah, we just had Jordan came in, and he was one of our field crew, and he's been identifying a lot of the theropod stuff. So this one is a dromaeosaur metatarsal.
Ooh. Nice. So that's one of the upper foot bones?
Yeah,
Yeah.
one of the raptors.
Uh-huh. Very cool. I see some Champsosaur vertebrae there, too.
I'm glad you're excited about Champsosaurus.
Somebody's got to be, you know?
They're like little cotton reels. Mm-hmm. They get really, really big in North Dakota after the dinosaurs go extinct. The biggest caristideas in the world are actually from here in North Dakota.
Huh.
They get to like 12 feet long.
And that was the critter that was on the logo for SVP this year. Was it might have been a North Dakotan Champsosaur.
This is quite cool. This is something Elias is going to be describing, but this is a juvenile quadratojugal from a small Daspletosaurus. You can actually diagnose it as Daspletosaurus, which is quite cool. So
A single bone,
is-
that's impressive, yeah.
Yeah, it's got one or two features that you can say that this is probably a Daspletosaurus wilsoni. That's quite cool.
Very cool.
Just lots and lots. Like this
Yeah.
this area is the same bed as one of the tyrannosaurs that Steve is working on, and we have a crocodile skull coming out of the same spot. So we've got frontals.
Oh, yeah. Those are the fused frontals right there. It looks symmetrical.
Yeah.
Nice. So that's like between the eyes, like forehead.
This is the base of the occipital, so the spinal cord goes through here into the brain.
Nice.
There's a little ball on the back of the skull so it can
Little
move its head
condyle,
around.
yeah.
All sorts of stuff like this.
Ooh,
And,
a bit of dentary or maxilla there? Premax, maybe?
yeah.
Yeah.
Premax of a little crocodile.
You can see the tooth in there. There's the sockets, and there's one of the teeth. There's
Wet-
all kinds of goodies in drawers like this. Yeah.
One of our field crew, Wes, is going through looking at all the crocodile stuff. These are quite cool.
Ooh, fused vertebrae. Is that part of a sacrum?
Yep, this is sacrum.
Nice.
I think this is a very large oviraptorosaur.
Huh.
I think that's what we decided it was. So this is one of the specimens that Jordan is describing for a paper he'll be publishing with us once he gets all of his descriptions together. Just tons and tons of stuff.
Yeah. Beautiful teeth right there.
This one's a bizarre one.
Weird.
It's a tooth, but it's got this really grooved, wrinkled enamel. Initially, I just
Bizarre.
thought, is that a pathological tyrannosaur tooth?
Uh-huh.
but I don't think it is anymore. I think it's probably like a big marine reptile. And that's not too surprising, because where this was found, it was right on the very edge of the delta, so you can imagine these big rivers feeding out into the sea, and every now and then a big marine reptile like a mosasaur or a
Polycotylid or something.
Yeah, something like that would have swum upstream a little bit, died.
Yeah.
Or maybe it's just its tooth fell out. But yeah, it's a strange one. So what else we got lying around here? More Tyrannosaurs. Hand. That's a long pointed hand claw from an ornithomimid.
Oh man, hang on. We might have signal may have cut out for a second. Oh, we're back. Okay.
This is a hand claw from an ornithomimid, one of the ostrich mimics.
Nice. That's so long and
Really
straight.
slender
That's
one.
crazy.
Yeah.
What are these guys doing with their hands? We were talking about this the other day when that new ornithomimosaur was just published from Coahuila. Yeah, these guys have got such bizarre claws on their hands.
Yeah, I got some claw work on these guys and some therizinosaurs, I think.
Nice.
I think we've not really investigated that subject in a way that we could do. And some of the work I've done on claws with other raptor dinosaurs.
Yeah.
I think we can look at it in the same way. So I do actually have some ideas about it, which I think will surprise some people, but also perhaps not surprise other people. But I'll get into that another time, I think. But I don't know. Watch this space. This is what I was telling you about before that you haven't seen. There's lots of random things in here, of course. This site, Jack's horn. There's not that much of it, unfortunately. But this bone here,
Ooh, yeah.
that's the brow horn from a juvenile Nasutoceratopsin. I think it's probably the smallest Nasutoceratopsin, at least that I know of.
So this is like Nasutoceratops, or what is it, Furcatoceratops?
Avaceratops.
Avaceratops, yeah. All from Montana, I think.
Yeah, they're sort of longhorn centrosaur type things. Depending on the shape of your cladogram, I think that a lot of that is still quite up in the air, more than people realise. But anyway.
So it's a horned dinosaur for anybody not familiar with
that's
these
one of
guys,
the horns. This thing is coming out face first, and we have, this is the premaxilla with the beak.
yeah.
And then we also have, these are actually, all of this was collected as like loose pieces.
Oh, man, that's the top of the nose?
Yeah, this is the top of the nose, and then this is the premaxilla here, so it doesn't actually have a nose horn, really. So it would go like that. There it goes. I can move my hand around a little bit so you can see it better. Yeah, something like that.
Very cool.
So the beak is here, the nose is here, the horns will be here. So this thing is sort of coming out face first. We haven't found anything from the back of the skull, no frill at all. We found the nasals, the premaxillae. This is the end of the lower jaw. So if you imagine like a great big lower jaw of a triceratops, this is where the beak would fit on the bottom. We didn't find the bottom beak. We got the tips of both brow horns. The other one's in there somewhere. Yeah, that's just the tip of the other one. But it's coming out high up. Like every year I just shove Deanna up there and she roots around. But like it's not safe to like have more than one person.
Yeah.
And you can't climb up. Like she doesn't climb up, but she stands on this ledge and I just cover and she picks up a couple of these pieces. And we know it's coming out from above there, but it's... I thought about getting ropes and like hanging down. I entertained that one year, and we might well do that.
Yeah.
Because as we find more pieces higher and higher, we know it comes from above that, and we've kind of got to a point where somewhere up there is probably an articulated skull of a baby Nasutoceratopsin coming out face first, and we've got a lot of the face already, but the whole frill's going to be back there. This is part of the this is part of the jaw. Look at that. All the teeth. oryx duck that you saw yesterday.
This is one of those spines that sticks up off the top of the vertebra, the neural spine. But
Yeah.
it should be, symmetrical side to side, and that's not.
Yeah, it should be ramrod straight. And what's happened to it, it's been hit from above, and it's caused it to buckle a little bit. And it's basically healed in this kind of curved, buckled shape. And we think this might be from another specimen we've got actually about 30, 50 meters away from where this was found. And we think it may have been picked up by a hunter, or even an animal, but more likely a hunter or something. Picked up, walked along, then put it down.
A human hunter.
Yeah.
Not someone who hunts humans, but a human being. You know what I mean.
Well, we don't know that, do we?
I suppose you're right.
The most dangerous prey of all. But anyway, so it's buckled because it has this pathology, and the other specimens, which I'll show you in a minute, are more pathological than this. They're more injured than this. Another thing that's cool about this, though, is it has all these cool tooth.
Yeah, wow. Oh, man. Look at those bite marks.
So we always keep an eye open for really cool bite marks, because originally, when you're in the field, obviously there's broken ends to these bones, and you might think, oh, there's a broken bit, or it's damaged on the surface. It's damaged on the surface, but that's ancient damage. That's tooth marks from a tyrannosaur. So you keep an eye open on these chunks, and you can see an impact of a deep crunch there, and then a scrape to go with it. When you find sets of marks like this is one of the things that I researched and I'm working on with some colleagues up in Canada, that when you find sets of marks, you can start to look at the movement of the head and where it's putting pressure, where it's moving, and start to model how the tyrannosaur is biting and twisting and stuff like that. So I've got an ongoing project looking at that kind of thing.
Very cool stuff.
These are some ammonites.
Oh, nice.
They're not spectacular, but one of the reasons why we collect these ammonites, we'd like to find a spectacular one, but the ammonites evolve very rapidly. And this ammonite is from just below, just above the layers where we get the dinosaurs. So if I find ammonites from the marine rocks that are above the dinosaur bones, I can date the marine rocks. And one of the questions with this site right now is exactly what age it is. And this one is from a little bit higher, actually quite a bit higher than the dinosaur bones, so it's not too surprising what kind of ammonite it is. I really need to find an ammonite in the top layer,
right,
1 meter above the dinosaur bed, and then we'll have a much better idea of how old it is.
Very cool.
Yeah. And if we talk about things, we'll maybe come back to some of these draws, because there's all sorts of things.
Sure, yeah.
So the little Nasutoceratopsin is actually really awesome.
That's really, really cool.
I just wish we could find where it was coming from.
It needs like a rope ladder or something like that.
That is the end of a ornithomimid shin bone, distal tibia.
Yeah.
Well, these little blue
Look how
labels.
hollow it is, too. It's really cool.
Yeah. Saurus bones can be hollow too. They're just not quite as hollow. And T-Rex bones, in fact, aren't that hollow. These smaller raptor-like dinosaurs have more hollowed out bones. And the hollows are, certainly in the vertebrae as well, are connected to the air sac system, the breathing system. It's much more primitive in the raptor dinosaurs than it is in birds, but it's there. And there's some really cool research being done on the lungs of things like these raptor dinosaurs, but also things like, think varanoid lizards.
Yeah.
In fact, they have the through-flow lung.
The
It's
unidirectional respiratory system, yeah.
It's much better than our lung, but it means they can't suck. So when they drink water, they have to kind of knock their head
right,
and swallow.
yeah.
Whereas we can create negative pressure.
That's funny, I didn't realize that, yeah. I've never thought about it that way, but that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, it's an interesting little thing, so... Technically, that's why mammals suck. We stick to dinosaurs because they don't suck, quite literally. Let's go look at those verts that are pathological.
So I thought we would do this while Steve is working on getting that jacket open, because he's got to go all the way around the perimeter. So we're letting him do that so we don't have to watch the whole time.
Well, we could look at, well, let's look at those birds first.
Yeah.
So the nice thing about these is, if we were watching yesterday, so this is a specimen that was found like this, broken up. It probably would have been a reasonably decent Brachylophosaurus many years ago, but it was in these concretions. Half of it was weathered away and nasty. And basically the only thing that was really salvageable were some parts of the vertebrae, the tail vertebrae, the anterior tail vertebrae near the close end. So we managed to salvage these.
Wow.
And what's cool about these vertebrae is, and the reason we salvaged them, is they have an injury, and it's the same injury as we saw in that Edmontosaurus.
Wow. It's crazy how consistent that is in different specimens.
This should be a beautiful straight spine that goes all the way up, and instead at the top it's been crunched from above. The spine is split and been shoved either side down the spine. And all of these vertebrae, they're in rough order. There might be one or two missing. We don't know because they weren't articulated. And you can see we've actually glued quite a lot of them together from pieces, but you can see they all have the same injury.
Yeah.
Hit from above, buckled or broken. Because the injury is consistent, we think it only happened once. And then it healed. Yeah, this one as well.
Yeah. Wild.
So this is another specimen which we think shows those mating injuries. And
Yeah, look at that.
this one's got a longer spine, so this one's from closer to the hips.
Yeah, more proximal. Yeah.
So a very common injury to see in these duckbills. And again, like Tyrannosaur attack, I don't think anyone can really seriously consider that these days.
Yeah.
Because the Tyrannosaur isn't going to...
Hit you with a mallet over the top of the
Yeah, I mean, you can see that this is impact damage from the top. So, I mean, yes, you know, a Tyrannosaur, maybe the way Tyrannosaurs hunted was belly flopping onto the tails of hadrosaurs, or maybe it's just not a Tyrannosaur attack, you know? It's anyway, yeah, some of these, I think Liz filled in some of these, so... You know, we managed
so there are missing pieces.
There are missing pieces, but it clicks across there,
Yeah.
and then it's been filled in around the back of here. So they came together real nice. There's one or two we haven't managed to fit together, but
Yeah. What is that material too? That's not water putty, right?
no, we were actually experimenting with a few different ones.
Yeah.
Steve likes to use epoxy sculpt, which is an epoxy resin. Some of these. This one was probably done, I know definitely this one down here was done this way. This was an experiment using marble powder and glue.
Interesting.
And regular acetone-based plastic glues. So you can mix marble powder as a calcium carbonate filler. It's inert, it's, well, you know, it's calcium carbonate, and you can add acid to it and it fizzes. But it's as good as a filler, so you can basically use it to block out areas.
You can just put Vinac on it? Mix it with Vinac?
Yeah, you mix it with Vinac, and then it sort of creates this thick gummy.
Interesting.
Depends how you mix it. You can add loads of powder, and it becomes basically like a putty,
Yeah.
and then it evaporates. It's not amazing. It's not as easily sculptable as things like epoxy sculpt, but the thing about it is it's very stable.
Right.
It's not an epoxy-based substance.
And
So-
using Vinac, does that mean that it's acetone soluble? Can you reverse it like that?
Yeah, it's
Nice.
reversible. It's archival grade, so it has those benefits. And I think for simple things like filling these cracks in here,
Yeah.
it's beneficial. You could do that with plaster, but it wouldn't be reversible. But we can do it with this stuff, and it is reversible. You know, we always say reversible, and it's like it can be a bit mucky when you're reversing it, but it is reversible if you need to, absolutely. But so, yeah, we were experimenting with that a few years ago, and we actually used that marble powder. You'll probably see in a bit some of the Tyrannosaur bones and some of the other bones have got like a white powder on them. That's marble powder that we use to help scanning, 3D scanning. You can dust it on almost like fingerprint. dust, and the whiteness. It takes off some of the reflective surface, it takes off the darkness of the surface, and it makes the laser scanner pick it up more easily.
Nice.
And of course, you can just blow it away. You just turn your air compressor on, and it blows off. And it's inert. It's not going to be a problem.
Cool.
So that's a really cool specimen that we're going to get out there with Warwick's duck at some point. We started to find more of these injured hadrosaurs with the same pathology. I think we have 2 good specimens and then a number of isolated odd ones that show the same impact injuries in the neural spines. I know Filippo's on again today. I
haven't seen him yet, but he might be.
He's studying this stuff, and we have a few new specimens. Just odd ones, but I mean, we collect them all because they're all really good data. Anyway.
Very cool.
Could get a look at Holger.
Yeah, that'd be neat.
Yeah. So we have a few tyrannosaurs here that we've been collecting. That label is incorrect. So this is Holger.
Beautiful brown bone here.
We do need to arrange it better than this. This animal is broken up in the ground. So it died, it fell apart. I don't know where its body is because all we've found so far is skull. Tough life, right?
Yeah.
And then something came along and crunched it up and trampled all over it. And so some of these breaks, these are what we call ancient breaks. So it was broken 76 million years ago.
Prior to fossilization.
But they still click together perfectly. It's kind of bizarre. So although some of these pieces were collected off the surface and some of these pieces were collected from the matrix, I mean for example, this is the nasals.
Nice.
So the nasals, and this piece actually fits kind of here somewhere. So this is all the way down the nose. What's cool about this? One of the things about
it almost looks like gnarled wood or something.
Yeah, it's beautiful, and it's very spiky. Well, it's not super spiky up here, but it's quite spiky.
For a tyrannosaur, yeah.
Tyrannosaurs have spikes on the nose when they're young, and then as they get older, these become more rounded and flattened, which begins to question the validity of taxa that have spiky noses. That they may actually be immature.
Things like Alioramus.
Maybe. Yeah, I mean, you've always got to ask that question.
Yep.
So, so we scanned this, and it's part of the reconstruction of the B2, the one that we're doing. So we're hoping to get a little bit more of this from the same site this year, but this piece that's glued onto the back clicks really nice. Yeah. That's an ancient break. That broke off 76 million years ago, was buried. We dug them up, completely cleaned the break surface, and have managed to glue it back together.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wait, so I want to emphasize that point, too, that I think you made. For the B2 skull, which is incomplete, you're having like a professional sculpt, a full-size one, complete, and you're using other pieces from what you think is probably the same critter, just a different specimen to help fill in the blanks?
Yeah, well, where we can. So the nasal was one bone that we could do that for.
Very cool.
When we're going to vice versa do it for this one. This one has both maxillae, but they're actually broken up. Like, this is literally how they were preserved. Broken in pieces. But these pieces fit together. So let's see. Not that one.
Really nice foramina right there.
This.
Ooh, yeah, look at that.
So this is the front end of Holger's right maxilla. And then this piece should fit on there.
Yeah.
There's a little bit of distortion there. But that's basically how that piece goes.
Nice. So this is the front of one of those bones at the beginning of the jaw. The teeth come out right here.
Yeah.
And then the nose is up here.
And we actually have some more pieces that fit into these spots. So I think this one goes somewhere here. They fit surprisingly well. Actually, it goes like that. Oh yeah, look at that. So this is an ancient break between these two bones. Well, this bone is broken in half. That's an ancient break, but the click, this one's not quite as nice as some of the others, but it's still pretty good. And we're hoping to find more pieces. That piece definitely fits on as well. I got this out, I think, because if you do that, some of these pieces start to click together.
Yeah.
But the nasals. Let's see, this is the back end, this is the front end. It goes something like this.
Yeah.
Something like that, I think.
Looks right.
Yeah, you can click it all together if you sit and play with all the pieces. Because we're still digging this one up, we haven't really arranged it all yet.
With that tooth in there.
Yeah.
Oh, man. So that's one of the replacement teeth. So these are the tooth sockets right here. See, they're empty, except there's one of the replacement teeth coming out. Nice. You can see those serrations right there. Lovely. Very cool.
Yeah, it's broken up, but it's a cool specimen. Here's one of the teeth with a root on it. So Steve collected this summer. This last summer, I suppose now. But we've still got plenty of this bone layer to dig up. We've got the Tyrannosaur in there. We've got a crocodile in there as well. We've got more than just these pieces. The original pieces. Oh, that's the premaxilla. So this is the snout. This is one of the found.
Which is why it's lighter colored too.
Yeah, it was bleached by the sun. And then this piece was important for us because this was like that, and we could see it in the cliff. So this showed us the layer where these bones were coming out. As luck would have it, of course, there's a couple of sinkholes behind shooting through. One of the bones in this lower drawer was actually in a sinkhole, or part of it was.
Have you ever tried to like chase things down a sinkhole? Like just do a dig way down to see if there's anything down at the bottom?
I mean, sometimes if you know something's gone down a sinkhole, you can chase it, but otherwise, I mean, you don't know if things have been lost for many years or whether they just went down a few weeks ago, you know?
Yeah.
It's kind of like your wild goose chase sometimes. But this one, I think, this was down a sinkhole, and we got a little fragment to go here. We've actually collected it now.
Nice.
But this is the post-orbital, so this is the eye socket.
It's the eye there, maybe?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then this is the big boss. And this animal is about 10% smaller than B2, the larger one, the holotype of Daspletosaurus wilsoni.
Yeah, the guy we were looking at yesterday.
And I can get the wilsoni post-orbital.
Oh yeah, compare them side by side.
So this bone, this is the post-orbital from wilsoni, and we don't have it on display because it's from the left side of the animal,
right.
And all the big jaws and other parts are from the right side of the skull. So we scanned this, printed it out, and put the print on display instead.
Yeah, mirrored it first, so it actually fits with that side.
And we might put the real one on display when we get our new displays together. We have a bit more space, but it would just be confusing and get in the way. But it's nice because they're the same side, and they're almost the same size. Like I say, this one is about 10% bigger. Not a huge amount, but they're comparable, these two specimens. So we're starting to build up a collection of these Daspletosaurus remains.
And interesting how there's a slightly different shape to the post-orbital horn boss, whatever you want to call it, right there.
Right. Well, this is one of these controversial things that we're starting to find about Daspletosaurs, and the ornamentation is more exaggerated in the sort of the half-grown ones, and then it starts to become less exaggerated, and this sort of saddle shape here is an ontogenetic feature.
Interesting. So that changes as the animal grows and matures.
It is basically being studied.
Very cool. Shoot.
But these are the sorts of things that you can do when you've got comparative material, and when you actually get the stratigraphic data, you know they're from the same horizon.
Yeah.
Therefore, they're living alongside each other. You know, odds are they're either part of the same population or they're different taxa.
Right.
And we can start to do these sorts of things with the data set that we're building up. As we hack our way through the cliffs looking for more of these specimens, there's some more pieces. This is actually part of the strut that sits in the middle of the maxilla, but this was on its own in the sediment, but it actually clicks very nicely onto one of the other pieces of the max. So we're slowly finding the home for all these different pieces. I stuck a lot of this together, and then Danny has been, Daniela Barrera has been sticking this a few more bits. I don't know how she found some of the clicks that she did, because I swear I tried everything, but I guess I didn't. But this is the horn above the eye. This is the lacrimal horn of this Daspletosaurus. So the other bone that I showed you would fit here.
It's quite the puzzle. Wow.
Yeah.
But
yeah, it was a lot of...
Beautiful morphology, though. Yeah.
This was all blown out on the surface when we found it. It was in lots and lots of pieces. It was one of the first pieces to find, and it's like, well, we'll collect them. And if you like doing puzzles, you sit there and you look for clicks, I call them, and you just try every piece. You don't just look at them, because often they might not look like they fit, but they do, so you have to try them, and you eventually get things together, and this is now a diagnostic bone. This is great.
Awesome.
We've got the bottom of the lacrimal here, and then these are all parts of the jugal, which could be nicer, but there you are. And this is part of the crocodile that we're collecting from that site.
Oh, yeah, look at that tooth.
Yeah, cute little crocodile jaw.
Yeah. Andy, which taxon this is?
I think this one's Lydiasuchus.
Nice. But look at that pitting. It's very characteristic of crocodiliforms.
It has this little gap there. And if this was Alberta champsa, it doesn't really have a gap in the teeth, in the tooth rows, between the premaxilla and the maxilla. So, but that's something that Wes is looking at. He's looking at all these, all the crocodile remains that we've got and figuring out which bits are which. You know, that beautiful Alberta champsa skull.
Look how hollow that tooth is, yeah.
It's just like a random, it's a tooth where, now that is a resorbed root.
Yeah, yeah.
That's like an ice cream cone resorption. I've never seen a tooth that resorbed, but yeah, it's pretty wild.
Can you talk about tooth replacement and how that works in critters like this?
Yeah, so I have got a good example up here. I'll just push that in a little bit so it's stable. Maybe Amanda actually just catalogued that the other day. Well, so you have the tooth sockets, and then you have replacement teeth that come in, and so as the tooth, sometimes it gets worn down, sometimes it doesn't, you know. But they have continuously growing teeth, and usually the tooth that's coming in doesn't sit directly underneath; it actually sits to the side, and then the root of the currently used tooth starts to resorb, and actually the new tooth sort of sticks into the side, and then the root gets fully resorbed in the old tooth, and then eventually it falls out.
Gotcha.
And this example was just a ridiculously crazy resorbed root.
Yeah, it's just
there's
hollowed out.
Usually they don't get that hollow before they pop out, but evidently this one did. This is a bit more typical.
Right.
Although I suppose this one has got matrix in it, but it's still not quite as. And this is quite big for a Daspletosaurus. This is about as big as the Daspleto teeth get, and this is ever so slightly bigger than the B2. So there's the paper that came out recently talking about the maximum size of T-Rex might have been 30% bigger than what we find. But the thing you look at isolated teeth, even though we haven't got complete skeletons, we have a lot of isolated teeth.
Oh yeah, much bigger sample size.
Yeah, and I haven't seen any teeth from individuals of T-Rex that are significantly larger than things like Sioux.
Yeah.
So it makes me suspect that we're not expecting to see anything much bigger than Sioux. Maybe slightly bigger. But in Daspletosaurus, we've got some teeth of some giants, very, very big, that we haven't found skeletal remains for. But again, the teeth show you. They show you what's there in the ecosystem. They do it for the microfossils. We haven't found nice raptors. We haven't found nice troodontids.
But you find their teeth.
I'll show you some stuff here, but you can find their teeth. That's why no one thinks about oviraptorids, because they don't have teeth.
Yeah.
But you find their toe bones and their leg bones actually far more commonly than people realize, and we're just starting to identify that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very cool.
So that was Tyrannosaur number 3 or 4, something like that.
I think by this time we might have that jacket lid sawed off, so maybe we should go take a look at that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, cool. Thanks, Tanner.
All up to you, Danny.
Yeah, let's go investigate. Might want to get some water here too. Ooh, yeah, look at that. A little dusty in here, but looks good. How's it going, Steve?
Pretty good. How are you?
So there's our jacket, and you went all the way around it? Yeah. Man, I can smell it.
Cast cutter didn't quite cut it in every room.
Yeah.
That's the thing in the past now.
So if anybody's just tuned in, we were over here earlier, and Steve was cutting into this. This is Steve Clausen, who's the fossil lab manager here at Badlands Dinosaur Museum. And this is a field jacket. It's from the Judith River, right?
Yep, this is probably a Procerolophus sacrum.
Very, very cool. So Procerolophus, big duck-billed dinosaur. Not Parasaurolophus. Procerolophus, yeah. So, yeah, it's got a much smaller crest.
We confirmed we have a Procerolophus from a maxilla I worked on last month. And we're thinking maybe some of these other big limb bones we're finding around it, they look too big to be Brachylophosaurus.
Yeah.
It's a possibility that it's Procerolophus.
Very cool.
So it's pretty wiggly.
Here we go, moment of truth.
Might still be stuck in places. When it gets stuck, it's a little tricky.
Yeah. I like that you call this the pie crust.
Yeah.
Around the top. We always called it the lip, but I like pie crust better.
You know, I started, my first 5 years was lab and field work with the Field Museum, and we had different ways of doing things. We didn't even use burlap in our jackets.
What?
So this is, when I saw this, I'm like, that's a pie crust.
Yeah.
Yeah, we used AC duct foam dipped in plaster.
Weird.
The jackets would be a little stronger, they'd be quicker to make. It's just AC duct foam. It's lighter, but it takes up a lot of space, so I would have to like bungee it to my back, and it's not heavy, it's just bulky. I use it for some cradles here. I was going to take some to the field and practice the jacket.
Interesting. AC duct foam.
Yep.
Do you still use plaster, or is it just the foam?
You cut the foam to the shape of the bone, or the pedestal rather, and then you mix up a bowl of plaster, you dip it in there.
Gotcha.
And with the coarse side up, you press it all over the jacket.
You said foam, and I was thinking spray foam.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, polyester.
Gotcha, yeah.
AC.
No, that makes a lot more sense.
It behaves a lot like fiberglass, but it doesn't have the risks of fiberglass.
Ugh. Yeah, I've used a lot of fiberglass in the lab before, and I don't enjoy it.
We use it here occasionally, and I don't enjoy it either.
All right. Oh, man, look at that.
I don't know how much we're going to see. Oh, there's some stuff peeking out.
Nice. We got some bone already, yeah.
Yeah, that must be part of the sacrum there.
Right over here, Tim?
Yeah,
the transverse process or something?
It's either float process or part of the cradle.
Okay.
This looks vertebral centrum right here, possibly. Jax has a lot of stuff, so we always find new things.
All right. So there's the lid, or the pie crust, whatever you want to call it, which would have been the underside of the jacket in the field. So it's the ventral side, the underside. Because you make that after you flip it. And so you'll see there's paper towel. Here, we usually label them like this. And then you can see the separators, paper towel under here, that we put there to, have a nice layer of separation between the plaster and the bone. You don't want to put the plaster direct on the bone, so you put your separator on first. Yeah.
Oh, all right. Let's shine some light on it. Yeah, before we start working on it, the other side of the jacket, when we flip it in the field, we don't want to expose anything. So there's really not much.
It's not going to be a whole lot to see right now.
I understand that it's a sacrum. Nothing is screaming sacrum, but that's how it goes.
Yeah, because in the field, if we were to remove all of the rock and field prep it, as we say, we risk damaging things under very much not controlled conditions out in the field, So
this was a particularly thick.
Oh man, look at that!
Pie crust, and that.
Yeah, that's. Oh man.
The cast cutter blade I had on this didn't go all the way through, so I cheated a little bit.
I thought I heard a different tenor of something. Yeah. Was that an angle grinder or something like that? Yeah.
Sometimes you got to do it.
Yeah. But wow, very, very cool. And so, tell us about the matrix here. Like, what's your approach to removing this?
So this matrix is, I prefer it to things like mudstone. This is a sandstone, a poorly sorted lithic arenite, you would say, for the geology nerds. It is pretty easy to move through, and that find one of our brand new dental picks here.
Nice. Just arrived this morning, right?
Yeah. Get a light. this can dig right through it. It's not as indurated as a lot of sandstone, but it's also not as loose as it could be either. If we use water, it will dissolve, but any slender little bit, like a pterosaur vertebra or something, you use water, it just, it collapses under the weight of the water. So while it's easy to dig through, it poses a lot of challenges for the small, fragile sorts of things. Like, it'll be no time before most of this sediment is blasted away. But then the work comes. There's going to be little thin, slender things all over. That's just how sacra are.
Is there charcoal in here?
Yep. So
yeah, look at
plants. That. When that was buried, that was probably a nice stick. And now it is charcoal, and that will burn. It's
We've done that before in the field, yeah.
You call it lignite. That's a low grade coal.
So that doesn't imply necessarily that burned in a fire previously. It's just that was vegetation that was in here.
In fact, we know when we have chunks of wood that burn already. They have a texture to them that's very sparkly. They're literally charcoal that was buried. This you can burn. It's more like coal. It's lignite.
Very cool.
And you'll still see there would have been coal right here that fell off in the field, and you can see the shape, the impression of that branch that was laying there.
Very cool.
Yeah, that's common at Jack's bone bed.
So, given this kind of sandstone and the coal that you've got there and everything, what does that tell you about this environment?
This is definitely it's what we call a channel deposit. So it's probably a point bar. If you're ever driving over a bridge, a river that is, and you see a lump of sand sticking out of the middle of the river, that's a point bar. What happens? Water is flowing and things accumulate. Dead things accumulate on the point bar. In cross-section, when you're in the field, it looks like little waves. You see all these little waves. And a sort of a buffet of everything that was around, and the density of the pterosaur material could imply that they're roosting here. You ever see bird sanctuaries? They all love roosting on the islands. They're of course not birds, but maybe share a number of habits with birds. We do find probably more bits of turtle than anything else, and Adocus, which we found a complete one at one of our other sites, but Adocus and bayonet turtles and things. Really a perfect environmental sampling.
Very cool. Awesome. Shoot. So when you open up a jacket like this, you're looking at this particular one, what do you think you'll get working on first? What's first order of operations here?
Well,
first order of business.
Order of operations, I always get rid of all this. Now this is sticking here a little bit due to some paraloid probably, so I'll squirt it with acetone to help remove that.
A bit of separator there that's not trying to prop up anything.
Right. I don't want it obstructing any views. This is probably placed because there's something underneath, or maybe it's just a piece of the lid that stayed on. Either way, I want to find out. And then I want to go for low-hanging fruit, which is things like this, but I like going from the top down. So this would be my top. I'm going to remove this rock down to this level, or else if I start working on this, I'm going to find myself in a pit.
Right.
And that makes work more tricky. I can't see what I'm doing. I'm working at weird angles.
Dig rat holes as we call them in the field.
So the plan is basically to take it down roughly all at the same time, and I'm going to have to at some point cut here. Once I'm all the way down, this is going to be a bowl I'm working in.
So I'm going to cut it again. Over the side and kind of obscure your work.
And then ultimately, this side of the sacrum will get a cradle when it's prepped on this side. I'll make a cradle, maybe using the AC foam we talked about, which is really strong with hydrocal. I'll flip this whole thing over, and then work on it from the other side.
Nice.
The other side probably won't have much matrix because that's what was exposed in the field. But you always have cleaning up to do.
Very cool. Very, very cool. What kind of consolidated glue do you use here? Is it Vinac or Butar?
So for the most part, we use Paraloid B72 solution in acetone. And I'll use like a 5%, a 15%, a 30% for like, thick glue. But I have started playing around with B76 or Butar in ethanol, which has advantages over B72. In the field, we use the Paraloid as well. Paraloid and B72 are the same thing. As is acryloid. It's all the same thing. They're little clear plastic beads that we dissolve in a solvent. Acetone is generally good. It has a high vapor pressure, so it soaks in really good, but it evaporates really fast, so it leaves the plastic behind. And in the field in particular, that's an advantage because it dries fast and we can get our work done. In the lab, I think we can deal with things drying slower, so that's what B76 does. It penetrates deeper into the B76 with the ethanol. And sometimes with Paraloid, we get little bubbles because the acetone wants to push it all back up from the middle. Well, you don't get the bubbles with the B76, so it's just... I don't hate one or the other. It's just fun seeing how different plastics and solvents work together.
Neat stuff. Cool. Well, best of luck with this. This is exciting.
Yeah, this is a fun one.
Very, very cool.
Yeah, I'll have fun with
There's
this.
that feeling of discovery in the field when you find a site, when you find a fossil, and then you start digging and you're uncovering more of it. There's a little bit of that same feeling back in the lab too when you get to open up a jacket.
Oh yeah. I mean, something this big, or even something that big, I feel like I'm walking back into the field. It's like we brought the field to us. In this case, I literally have to lay on top and
do some field
do overburden. I'm calling that overburden.
There's certainly a lot of it. Yeah. Very cool.
I don't know if you mentioned, these aren't doing anything.
No, they're not.
No, I just store them under there.
Yeah. I grabbed a few of those earlier to put my laptop on so I have a clean surface to work.
Oh, they're on special in the store, and so we use so many of them in the field, so people can get well, I use a lot of them anyway for when I'm
we just call them butt pads.
Yeah. But so they had a really good deal on them the other day, so I bought tons, and they just shove them on.
And there are a number of them layered underneath. So I have butt pads on top of moving blankets.
Quite the nest over there. Yeah. Let's go take a look at that, actually. Do you ever use pillows in the field? Because on the Utah crew we do, and I'd never seen that before.
Sometimes I roll up my fleece and things like that.
But we've got just a trash bag full of old ratty pillows that everybody just sits on in the quarry, and it's kind of nice. It looks weird, but it makes things comfy.
Sometimes a roll of pillow, you can use that.
Yeah. No, this is great.
I wanted to say thank you to the anonymous donors who donated yesterday through the Throne app, or whatever it's called, Throne. So donated some time for Deanna to do some more prep for us, because that's really, really great. So appreciate it.
Have we really met Deanna on stream yet?
Not yet, no.
Yeah. Do you want to introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Deanna. I'm a contract fossil preparator. I was a volunteer here for a few years, but then finally got some money, and now I actually get to work on stuff.
Nice. What are you working on right now?
I'm working on, what is it, the ischium or the ilium of this?
Ischium, I think.
Yes, the ischium of our ankylosaur.
Very nice. So this is a nodosaur, right?
Yeah, we think so.
Yeah.
At least when I was out there, I thought this was an ischium. If it is, it might be missing a bit of the proximal end.
Probably.
These things have really wacky ribs, so sometimes
there's the bone there.
It might end up being a rib, but I was pretty sure. I am not a nodosaur anatomy person. So.
Yeah, can you kind of point to the extent of the bone so that everybody at home can see?
So it starts right about here, and then
yeah, nice.
it's here so far, but it's probably going to extend all the way.
Very, very cool.
Yeah, this is the second nodosaur that we've been digging up. And we only really started excavating at this site last summer. So Steve and Bobby, just the week before him, were managing that site. And it's got a nice pelvis, it's got some leg bones, it's got ribs and vertebrae and some spikes, armor spikes and stuff. So we're really just starting to get a feel for what there is there. And so we'll be back there again this summer.
Very nice. Cool. And yeah, now, thanks to you viewers, really appreciate your generosity. Deanna will be able to work on this for an additional, 2 days and a few hours at this point?
Yeah.
Yeah.
From yesterday's stuff.
Yeah. And again, if you want to help contribute to that, there's a link. Should already be there. Let's see. I think it's !BDM donate. Yeah, you can buy prep time, and because again, that's the big bottleneck here. We can go out and dig up fossils, and it's the thing that's really time consuming. The thing that we get stuck on is prep, and so you can help out with that, and allow this museum to have even more dinosaurs in the collections and on display, and that's really probably pound for pound the biggest thing that you can do, I think, right? In order to contribute.
We are. One of the things I'm trying to look at the moment is basically getting university accommodation here in Dickinson, so people can maybe come and volunteer in the lab in the summer. I have people who are interested, but it's like accommodation costs money, but the university does have dorm rooms that they rent out. So we're sort of looking at that kind of model. I've still got to figure out who would supervise and when they'll be here, and some of the initial training and stuff like that too. But like some people either don't want to do field work out in the field, or they perhaps can't do field work, but so many of those people are very interested in lab work.
Yeah. Some want to do both. We've had instances where they come here, people from all over the world, they spend a month in the lab. A month is, perfect, because then they get trained up. By the second week, they're actually doing a lot of work. That's good.
They can be kind of self-directed to a certain extent. Yeah.
And then they'll go out into the field, or the other way around. In the field, they learn a bunch of things. They learn how bones behave, consolidants, how plaster works. So that by the time they come to the lab, there's applicable skills. That's an option always.
Very cool. Yeah.
I was looking through the stream while you guys were talking. I saw a couple of questions.
Yeah.
One question was, do you get any problem with pyrite disease?
Yeah.
We generally don't, mainly because there's not much pyrite in these bones. I mean, in Europe, where I've collected, we get quite a lot of pyritized bones. And that can be a problem. But for us here, we basically don't have anything with pyrite in it, I don't think. We have got one little tyrannosaur toe bone with some pyrite crystals inside, which is actually quite unusual. But we generally don't. But I have a massive store of silica gel.
I think I remember you asking for donations of that at one point.
Yeah, people send us their silica gel, and so I have a big store of it. So if we ever do get pyrite fossils, we can at least build the silica gel beds to help stabilize them a bit. And I have some that I've collected from Europe that will eventually find their way into this collection, that we will have to stabilize them that way.
Gotcha.
But it's generally not a problem. There was another question.
I love this. Denver being so diligent about the questions. Better than I'm being. This is great. Yeah. You're a natural, Denver.
One person asked, what about a bounty program? Like if you find something and you bring it into the museum, maybe you get like a 3D print of it or something like that. One of the specimens, one of the Tyrannosaur jaw pieces that we showed you yesterday was a bit like that. The lad found it, and it was reported to us, and he took us to the site, and we looked for more pieces. And he's supposed to come here and help clean it up, do the last bit of cleaning.
Very cool.
Mold and cast it, and he can take a cast of it, or a cast of the tooth. I think he wants the tooth.
Nice. Him in particular, that was a very jealous move. He found a Tyrannosaur jaw, just walking around this, and he went home, and he's like, "Is this what I think it is?" And if nobody was told, nobody might have known.
Yeah.
But he decided he was going to bring it to a museum.
Yeah.
And
good for him. Wow.
And so he deserves to come here and learn how to prep that. It's a specimen I wouldn't normally give to a beginner.
Right. But he found it.
He found it, right? So we could work something out.
And in many ways, it's a fairly straightforward thing to do, because that particular specimen is mostly coarse sand in some of the little holes and things.
Yeah, the work is fairly straightforward, but the nature of the specimen is what puts it above many other things. Yeah, we are swimming in Tyrannosaur jaws.
We seriously, just Tyrannosaur tooth after Tyrannosaur tooth in there. And that's not even, there's going to be more that you're going to see, chat. So, yeah.
I'm sad about it too. I wish we had more horned dinosaurs. That's my thing. That's
Right. We keep finding more. We keep finding more tyrannosaurs and ceratopsians.
Yep.
Tyrannosaurs are little raptors now.
Yeah, true.
All the stuff that you're cleaning up. Why can't that be a baby ceratopsian?
I know, it's such a shame. I mean,
Everything but.
you got a nasal horn, Denver. Be thankful.
Yeah, one half of a nasal horn.
It's a G.
Yeah. Well, it's symmetrical. You could just scan it and 3D print a mirror one, and there you go.
Yeah, it's just the right size for me to wear on.
Nice. Well, very cool. Thanks for taking the time to talk with us and everything. And
Absolutely.
yeah, again, if anybody in the chat, if you'd like to contribute and help, drive forward the study of paleobiology at this institution, go ahead and take a look at that throne wish list and see if you might want to contribute, because the donations we got yesterday are going to go a long way. And
One day of Deanna's prep could mean 2 pterosaur bones.
yeah,
Or 3, a troodontid bone, throw that in too. One day with these small things, lead to a lot of things.
it's a big deal. It really
We're
is.
going to look at those
Yeah.
in collections in a bit, and maybe Deanna could come along and tell us the ones you prepped and stuff.
Yeah, if you want to,
Yeah, I
yeah.
can-
Yeah.
I remember this grain of sand. It was a toughie. There's nothing more satisfying than that bit of gravel you got to work your way around, and then it's like picking a scab, but not as gross.
Yeah. It's a good way to put it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I need to get some water. So should we go over into collections and take a look around? Cool. All right. I think I got my water bottle over in your office. Oh, California Air Tools. Oh.
Good, quiet air compressor.
Yeah, makes me a little bit homesick.
I put this in front of Deanna's workstation.
That's great, Howard.
It's such a good auction find.
All right, there's my water. Ugh. So again, I always forget to do these little interstitials. It's like a station break on the radio. But if anybody's just joining us, welcome to Paleontologizing. I'm Danny Anduza. This is my channel. We're here at the Badlands Dinosaur Museum in beautiful, sunny, warm, tropical Dickinson, North Dakota. There's the view outside right now. I think it's maybe 3 degrees Fahrenheit. Yeah. Anyway, we're taking a look at the lab and at collections today, and just talking about all the cool stuff that's going on here at this little museum. You might think of it as a small institution, but man, do they punch above their weight here. They're doing some really, really cool work, and I'm really excited to show you around. Okay, I'm hydrated. Let's take a look.
This is only one of the collections rooms that we have. Mm-hmm. So Amanda does the cataloging. So these are all kind of current things that are being cataloged. I think we showed this yesterday, but Deanna wasn't here yesterday, so this one's really yours, right?
This is so exciting.
Yep, Tiny Tim.
This is extraordinarily rare.
Tiny Tim. Yeah, so I'll let you tell us about it, or I don't know.
So for this one, to prepare it, obviously it's extremely thin, super fragile. This is not a standard cradle. Steve made this one. But I prepared it using the velour on a really low PSI, because if it had a lot of vibrations, then it would shatter on the inside and outside. Consolidated it quite a lot. I had to piece it together as well, because it does come in pieces. But so we stick it vertically in the sandbox and just let it consolidate on its own.
Very cool. Shoot.
So yeah, this is one of the wing bones. So this is the end where it articulates with another one of the wing bones. And the wing bones are made of the finger. I think it's the 4th finger.
Yep, the ring finger, yeah.
So it probably would have been about this long. It's probably about 2/3 or 3/4 complete. Very often these wing bones break up, just like this one. Mm-hmm. This is one of the big wing bones all broken up. It was like this in the ground. So the fact that Deanna's got it together like this is pretty wild.
Yeah, I had to use a lot of carbo wax for that one.
Yeah, and we've got all these little thin struts. This is the inside of the bone, and they have thin struts, almost like spiral grooves over the surface of the bone that gives it great strength, so that when it's flapping, or maybe not. Depends on what you believe. They probably did flap, yeah.
Yeah.
But when it's putting stress on those bones, it has additional strength. But we have quite a lot more of the pterosaur than this, and we have some of the small raptor bones as well. So we're going to go next door, and then Gianna can point at them for you.
I wanted to show off one more thing.
Yeah.
Oh.
This is the future of our institution in this drawer here.
Duct tape?
You see all these? Troodonid phalanx, pterosaur phalanx, theropod limb. This is just one of many drawers with nice little things that Deanna's been working on. So that used to be in here, and we'd like to see more of these.
So these are some of the things that Deanna's going to be working on.
Yes.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Wow.
And there are more drawers.
Yeah,
More drawers.
very nice. Super cool. And again, just I want to highlight how thin the bone is on the pterosaur wing right there. This is kind of a running joke on the channel. There is an old Paleo World episode where there was a clip of Kevin Padian talking about the thinness of pterosaur bones, and he goes, the thickness of these bones, it's a lot like the thickness of a dirter. A dirter is one of those paper towel tubes that you blow through and you go dur dur dur. And so it's just like a wonderful soundbite from that. But it's really true. I mean, look at that. Just incredibly thin.
It's not even potato chip thin. It's thinner than that.
Wild. Yeah. It really is like a dirter. Yeah.
And that long wing bone there, that was...
Yeah.
When she was done with it, we let it sit in a sandbox for a while, just thinking about how do we cradle this.
Yeah.
This is not going to be any standard method, but eventually we thought of something that works.
Nice.
I don't like touching that one.
Uh-huh.
And we're quite fortunate with this site that often pterosaur bones are completely crushed flat.
Yeah.
And here, there's crushing, but there's just enough three-dimensionality that you can add enough glue and with careful prep get out both sides,
Yeah.
which is not always possible with pterosaur bones, or very rarely possible, actually. So we've got some quite good 3D ones. Maybe we should go next door and look at them?
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. Yeah, look at all the paper towel tube emotes in the chat. We've got a special one just for that.
Paper towel tubes.
Or the toilet paper tubes, yeah.
That's how you make a telescope.
Yeah.
So we have a bunch of things. This is our collections room. Hopefully, once we get the new building, it'll be a lot bigger than this. But we've got about 40 of these cabinets in total, but I have about 400 in storage, so we'll have a lot more storage space.
Nice.
But down here, so
Here, should I go on this side so I can get everybody else in the shot if they want to talk to?
do you want to be on this side?
I think that makes sense, yeah.
Sure. Do you want a step stool?
I think probably okay for now.
You can have the step stool there because we've got another one on this side.
Cool.
So
What makes sense?
I'll just open up the upper part of this.
Yeah.
So the story for Jack's bone bed is we saw a lot of bones sticking out, and this is one of the bones that was sticking out. This is the lower jaw of that lambeosaur that we showed you yesterday, and this little white bit here was what was sticking out of the cliff. And as we dug in, we revealed the rest of the jaw. This bit went down the cliff many years ago, probably. And as we went in, we found the other part of the lower jaw with the beak attached. That was where the rest of the skull was. But the face had fallen off the top side of the skull, and that's what we have here. This is the upper jaw, the cheekbone, and the quadrate of the other side of the face.
So this is Liberty, the lambeosaur.
Yeah, Liberty the lambeosaur, and here is the neck that goes with it too. Some of the bones. So there's quite a lot of bones from this site, and underneath the site it looks like this. So this is what we call a basal lag. There's a whole bunch of shells and little pebbles. So it was the bottom of a river channel covered in shells and pebbles, and then these different dinosaur carcasses were washed into that channel. And so it's a super rich, what we call a multi-taxic bone site, where we have loads of different species. We have the Lambeosaurus, we have a pterosaur, raptors, crocodiles, turtles, other kinds of hadrosaurs and everything. I mean, literally everything other than we haven't got much tyrannosaur. But we brought you here to show you
A breath of fresh air.
So this is where some of the nicest material is. Some of the small...
I know, right? I keep forgetting about that.
I'll get out of the way and let you guys in the front.
I love that crazy.
Pull it out a little bit more than that.
Oh, yeah.
Oh yeah, there was this one.
Yeah.
So
I was really happy
there's a
with that
humorous. What are we on this humorous? We still thinking?
We've had birds suggested, but we've also had over... You can pick that one, pick it up and show it to the camera and get a nice close-up of it.
Nice. Yeah. Beautiful. So you said humorous?
Yeah, humor. So this is a tarsometatarsas.
Yeah.
An
bones
antiornithine
fused.
on this.
I think we thought this one was either an elmisaurin or a bird. So it's either a small oviraptorid or bird.
So either a very bird-like dinosaur or a bird. An extinct kind of bird, maybe if it's an antiornithine. It's always tough to say an antiornithine.
An antiornithine. Deanna does all these nice little cavity mounts and things for collections.
Very nice.
This is of interest right here. I think Denver has more to say on this.
Well, it's probably skull. Well, it's almost certainly skull. It's probably from the pterosaur, I think. I'm not sure.
I mean, this would be a orbit.
It's quite large and very thin. So we need to we need to work harder on identifying it, but I need to see more material that's comparative. It doesn't quite fit with anything from the Troodon. We definitely have skull material from the Troodon too. We have lots of vertebrae and other bones from that one too. Just in front of that are the two neck vertebrae from the pterosaur. And the discovery of the pterosaur was some broken bits of wing bones, broken wing bones. And so we knew that there was pterosaur fragments, but pterosaur wing bones and fragments of pterosaur in some of these deposits. In the late Cretaceous of North America, they are. But then these vertebrae turned up.
Has darkened vertebrae. You see the
Look at
teddy
that.
bear?
Yeah,
we
they
call
look-
these teddy bears.
You'll see some
I could
photos
totally see that.
you'll see some photos of pteranodon that look like vertebrae that look like teddy bears, but these ones are just
And
elongated.
you see pictures of those massive asdarchids, and this
Yeah,
is
like
this is
Quetzalcoatlus
not
is
one
like
of
this.
those.
Yeah. Wild.
Very small.
So this isn't as darkid pterosaurs are similar to like Hatzegopteryx or Montana's Darko, or Quetzalcoatlus is the best known one to the general public. So this would be like that, but not as big. Same family, same group of pterosaurs.
Troodontid, we have the scapula and the coracoid right there.
Everybody loves troodontids in my channel, yeah. So that's
You can pick them up and show them off. The scap coracoid is interesting because they're from opposite
it's
sides.
from the chest right there.
So we have, I think, a left scapula and a right coracoid, or vice versa.
So this attaches to the shoulder blade, the scapula.
There aren't many of these known.
Yeah.
Isn't that right?
How many of those do you think exist in North America?
I don't know. But Troodon remains in general. I mean, there's a lot of troodontid material
Scapula.
from
Yeah, it's shoulder blade.
Egg Mountain.
That one was fun.
Nice. So you prepped all these, Deanna?
A lot of these.
Did you
Nice.
this, didn't you?
Yeah.
Yeah, this is like her drawer.
Nice job, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I found, I forget which one it was. I think it was this one in a micro bag. Unlabeled, so just wrapped in tinfoil along with like various other bone
That's one of
fragments
our.
and stuff.
This looks interesting, but
Yeah,
we
right.
don't know what it is.
Here's a troodontid skull.
Wait a minute now.
And I also did those two.
Thoughts on this one, Denver?
That's the frontal
Oh.
troodontid.
Nice.
Probably Stenonychosaurus, but possibly Latinovenatrix. And this little scooped out area, that's the eye, where the eye would be. You're looking up into it right now if you flip it over. That is the top of the skull, so this is the eye, it's the eyebrow, if you like.
Okay, so the right top.
So think of all those illustrations of Troodon that you've seen where it's like looking straight at you with the big yellow eyes. That's the same thing going on right there. That's where that big eye would be.
And we're quite fortunate because that's the most diagnostic bone you can find is the frontal of a troodontid.
Nice.
We've got all these other bones, like I look at feet, they've got a metatarsal 1, and that's very distinctive, and these neck bones are very distinctive, but the frontal is super distinctive.
Now these neck bones can be wonky because like they had a lot of spaces in there, a lot of voids. So if you see it from the front there, this is a vertebra.
The prezigs right there?
Yeah. So cervical troodontid, I believe. Is that what we're thinking on that? Yeah. But it is smushed.
Yeah.
It's smushed
just
down.
collapsed like that, yeah.
So like sometimes we find them like that. Other times almost no distortion at all.
Beautiful. Is that a dorsal?
It is a dorsal, yes. It looks a little bit small to go with those cervicals.
Yeah, I was gonna
Dave
say.
Riccio has told us that, at least in Troodon, they don't have a little hole in the side of the centrum. So this might not be from the same animal as the Troodon. But that frontal, definitely Troodontid.
Yeah.
Maybe Stenonychosaurus.
Like I was talking
Dorsal
about.
vertebrae, maybe not. The neck vertebrae look like they are. But we've got Oviraptorid, we've got Troodontid, we've got dinosaur. So whenever we see one of these delicate bones, they tend to be quite dark colored as well.
Yeah.
Whenever we see just a little bit of that delicate bone, we go round it, and eventually we get it out in the jacket, and that gets specially labeled with Diana. And
Thomas Holtz came here for a little while, and he ID'd this as Caenignathed, but he was he's like, if it were a giant Troodon, I'd believe that too. And I was like, what do I do with that information?
Yeah. Very cool. Yeah.
Yeah, that's just one drawer
And
of
then
fun
yeah,
stuff.
long pterosaur.
Oh yeah, that's another one of the. When they're that long, like cradling them starts to be
Yeah.
complicated.
Very cool stuff. And then is this ossified tendon right here?
And then we see, but if they're long enough, then why not?
Nice.
And that's all the nice, like, well, that's not even all of the nice small theropods. So if you open some more drawers, and then there's something that
This one right here?
yeah.
Yeah.
Which one are you thinking?
Just keep pulling your stuff in. And the one behind you there, actually it's there. It says Jack's Bowman on the outside.
Those are some cool. I mean, like to anybody else, everything's really cool, but I'm trying to get to the best.
There's a baby jaw on one of these. The next one down, I think.
We've got an illustrator in chat, and they say, I'm always fascinated how paleontologists are able to identify specific broken parts and assign them. I mean, as an illustrator, I'm quite experienced in human and some animal anatomy, but this is just mind-blowing.
There's a lot of practice, and one of the things like this,
No, that's.
that you're always looking for a perfect bone, but when you're in the field, you've got to identify cross-sections, textures, and it's a completely different game to identifying things in a collection. So you just learn to look for particular clues. It's part of what I teach the field crews. This is the coronoid that goes with it.
It takes a tremendous amount of practice. It's like, years and years and years of experience.
So this is a very young hadrosaur jaw.
Yeah. Little baby
You
duck
see
bill.
the rows where
This
the
is
teeth go.
Yeah, tooth grows right there. Big coronoid process. So
Yeah.
that's where the lower jaw attaches to the skull. So you're looking at, this is like here's the outside of the jaw, and then you were looking at like a tongue side view back there.
This is actually where the muscles attach.
Where the muscles attach,
Yeah,
right?
the upper jaw attaches back
That's
here.
true, yeah.
That one's really cute.
So we have baby dinosaurs at this site as well.
I thought this was cool. Croxorangular.
Oh, yeah. One of
That's
the
the
bones from the lower jaw.
Yeah,
Like-
that's the smaller one as well.
I was talking about it's the buffet that we have here. It's just a smorgasbord of.
Lovely sample
Yeah.
platter.
Yeah.
So these sorts of sites, they're so good for getting an idea of the fauna.
Deanna dug this up,
And then I prepped
and
it.
we were watching it. We were looking at it. We're like, let's just keep it in the rock.
Yeah,
Like
right.
this is really cool.
That's
for-
something that you could make casts of and sell in the gift shop.
and an
people
exhibit
would love that.
perspective.
That was like one of my
Yeah.
earliest projects too.
Yeah.
Like after my first field season.
That's really neat. Oh, and Filippo's back in the chat too. Filippo Bertozzo.
Oh, hi,
Yeah.
Felicia.
Oh, okay.
These are going to be some longer limb bones. Jack's bone bed, radius, big toe bones.
you go into that one down there, it says Jack's Bone Bed, CA14.
Yeah. 14, nice.
Yeah, that one, I think the upper drawers and that's got more of this interesting odds and ends that we've got recently.
Oh, and we'll take a look at that later, Chad.
Oh, yeah.
Little teaser.
Okay, let's start from the top. Oh, yeah,
It's all
that's a
coming
good
back
one. Okay.
Yeah, of course you gotta
Speaking
start
of
with that
another fun cradling situation, I'm going to take the credit for this one.
Nice. It's beautiful. It's a beautiful job on the cradle, too.
So,
but did you prep this one also?
Yes. So this is Alberta Champsa, Alberta Champsa skull. I love him. Yeah. Socket. Also from Jack's Bone Bed. Denver can explain more of the scientific significance of this specimen.
Well, Austin Smith found it one end of the quarry, actually where Deanna was like the previous year, this year. And we first saw the tooth sockets, and he went round it and he thought, well, it's a little brachychampsa-like thing. So if you were in the Hell Creek, you'd probably call that a brachychampsa. But this far down in the Judith, we call it Alberta champsa. And Alberta champsa is super rare. I think we looked at this yesterday for a couple of seconds. It's the second skull, or the second decent skull ever found.
Wow.
So we're basically looking into that and figuring out a bit more about these crocodiles that we have in this area too.
I want to do a mold and cast in chocolate.
Yeah. It really looks like it. These are the one button tooth right.
They're all alligatorid, but you get the long, narrow skulled forms as well, also an alligator, but that's called Lydiasuchus. So they're the more common ones, the Lydiasuchus. These guys are much more rare, so...
This is a nice long ornithomimid.
That's nuts. Just, I always forget how long and straight their claws are like that. It's just low curvature,
I mean, according to Amanda, it is very long.
Yeah.
You don't often see them this long.
I've seen them in the collections at Berkeley. None of them have been this long. This is really something.
She studied ornithomimids. She found this quite interesting.
Very cool.
That's cool.
That's one of your famous ostrich dinosaurs, Chad.
Here's an ornithomimid pedalungual.
Yeah, one of the toe claws.
They're really strongly triangular in cross-section.
Yeah.
Impressively so.
Huh.
Every time I post a photo of these fossils, people ask me if it's chocolate. It's like the French chocolate.
Look at that
I
jaw.
talked about this. This is the
Maxilla?
Procerolophus maxilla.
Yeah.
So this was found near some of those big limb bones, including the sacrum, which is why our floating idea is that maybe these big limb bones are also Procerolophus.
Wow, very nice. Lovely foramina there, and then look at those teeth.
In Jack's bone bed, if there's one difficult thing prep-wise, it's duckbill teeth, especially when they're all in the jaw. That's like 80% of the time you spend on these.
On the teeth.
Is getting the teeth.
It's all those nooks and crannies.
And they want to shatter.
Yeah, that's where sometimes they got to use stronger consolidants.
If you use stuff that's thinner, it just risks falling apart.
Yeah.
Look at that. Very nice,
Yeah,
humorous.
so-
Wow.
That was also found nearby, so maybe Procerolophus.
That's a big one. Wow. Yeah. Jeez.
Yeah, the humerus we have for Liberty, the Lambeosaurus, does not scale up to this.
So that's the upper arm bone chat of a duckbill dinosaur.
Nothing hyper large phalanx.
The delicate little things that we got from Jack's bone beds. So we originally thought that it was a pterosaur and a troodontid, and now it's at least 4 different animals of these delicate things. And
Do you have any new taxa just from this year? Like things that just turned up?
the bird stuff, or the Elmisaurin, is something only recognized this year. And what happened this year was that we started finding these delicate bones on the other side of the site as well. So if it's continuous through, we've got like 40 meters probably. Or
Holy
so
cow! Yeah.
of bone bed that's just going to kick out this sort of stuff.
Yeah.
And everything from this site is good. That's the thing. It's like find much boring bone. Like there's not many sort of just lots of hadrosaur ribs, that kind of thing. I suppose there is where the skeleton is, but like everything is like part of something interesting. And the whole fauna is helping us connect these beds up with Canada. It's really awesome.
How many more years do you think you could work that site and keep finding cool stuff?
We'll be you could work that site for another 20 years plus. We only get in about a meter a year. And you could probably work it for even longer than that. Take it all the way to the private land boundary. It's very fortunate that we can drive to the site too, so it's very accessible. But the only thing about it is there's quite a bit of overburden over it. We do usually do a week or so of overburden at the beginning of the season, but I'm hoping this year we can use an excavator because it's very convenient. There's a great big cliff there, and you can just turf the rock down the cliff.
Nice.
So that's going to be the only real challenge with the site is getting the overburden cleared. And it's not too much of a problem. It's a lot of hard work, but it's not impossible or anything. But it's an incredible site.
Very
it's
cool.
Incredible fossils.
Yeah. Awesome. And you're helping make that possible. Kind of people are donating to the prep time and everything, and space for that. So thank you.
More like the delicate stuff, research specimens.
Yeah. I know it's always cool to have great big dinosaur bones and everything, but sometimes the smaller stuff, you might get a publication out of that. You might be extending the range of a certain taxon, or extending it through time, or describing a new important morphology or something.
And the more of that fine stuff that we find, that we collect and get cleaned up, we put it together to make a skeleton.
Yeah.
And we are going to hopefully get the pterosaur reconstructed.
Yeah.
We've already been talking with the airport about doing that and having them flying through the airport here in town. It's only a very small airport, but they're getting a couple of new bits.
It'll make the pterosaur look even bigger.
Fair point.
It's almost as small as Montana's Dark.
You pay for a day of prep. We can send you photos of what's being worked on. Personally message you, talk about the significance to be accomplished that day. And other ideas we can think of.
Yeah. Here, let's go ascend. Thank you.
So one very big limbo we've had, I had an intermediate volunteer, Wes, who's now more advanced, but this was one of his first projects, this femur here.
Oh, man.
That guy's in a thick fiberglass cradle.
Yeah, it's a lot bigger than my femur. Wow. So that's from...
Jeff's bone bed.
Okay, yeah.
Could be, maybe Lambeosaurian, who knows, until we take more books to it.
Yeah.
But we have more of these. In fact, I think we may have a bigger one in storage right now, unprepped.
Nice.
We have a tibia, associated tibia, unprepped. More of these big projects that are not possibly as intricate as the delicate things, but they have their own challenges. Their size and the cradling and things.
Very cool.
Yeah.
And then the ceratopsian in the room. Do you want to talk about this, Denver? Because this goes back to 2012.
This is something that Danny dug up with us. Back when I was at the Museum of the Rockies, a graduate student there. It's a site that I found in
Let me get on this side over here.
2010.
And no, it's 2012 you found it.
I found it in 2012.
Thespelosaur, yeah.
Yeah, we thought it was a Thespelosaur, but I presented about this here at our own conference, and you may have read a little bit in places, but we found a Leptoceratops bone bed, and we have remains of 2 adults and all sorts of things. 1/3 size individuals. We have hatchling-grade individuals. So these are part of an exhibit that we're putting together, showing a Leptoceratops burrow. These are animals that lived in burrows, based on some of the new information that we're basically putting together.
And I'm so glad we could talk about this, because I've been super cagey about this on stream.
Well, I'd still be super cagey. I'm just doing like a little exclusive. I'm not going to go into any details. But, what's in the abstract that we presented is already out there.
I didn't realize that, so.
It's an exclusive for this, for when we did our own little meeting here. But we've had, basically, you can't get a skeleton of a Leptoceratops anywhere. I tried to find casts. Canadian Museum of Nature, Indianapolis Children's Museum have a closely related animal, but basically no one has the molded parts or the casts available. So we got 3D sculpts made of Leptoceratops, and we have these little skeletons, and I can produce some more of those. So that's going to be just a small part of this immersive exhibit that we're going to be building. We have some fleshed up models coming, some little surprises for people in amongst all that as well. I hope it's going to set a new standard for the kinds of immersive exhibits that you can have in museums. Playing catch up on some of the exhibit, put innovative ideas out there and really show what museums can do. We're not just old rocks and bones and things on display. I think the challenge that's been laid down to us, especially in the last 5 years, has been really showing what science is. Science is a method, and how we find out new knowledge. And dinosaurs are many people's first entry into science. How do we know T-Rex could run at a certain speed? How do we know that these animals were carnivores? All the information that we find out about dinosaurs teaches the scientific method in a fun way. You don't have to do those physics questions at school, although you do if you're doing dinosaur physics. But that's kind of where we're going with the new exhibits, a mixture of immersive and other things like that. And I'll be talking more about that as our museum expansion gets a little bit more further along. But that's the thing that really interests me. The lepto stuff, I didn't really know much about Leptoceratops before we dug these things up.
Nobody really did. They'd never been found in the whole Hell Creek project. Not a single scrap of Leptoceratops, right?
Well, they probably were, but they weren't really identified. And Leptoceratops is a key species for understanding how the dinosaurs changed and adapted to their environment, or rather how they moved around in their environment in the very last million years of the Cretaceous, before the KT boundary. And we've seen some evidence that there are changing faunas through the Hell Creek Formation, and Leptoceratops is a part of it. If you look in the right places, you actually can find them fairly abundantly. We have found not one, not two, but we found 3 of these burrow horizons of Leptoceratops. And we're hoping to open up so that's public land. The other one is a Montana state site, the other 2. But I expect there are more, and in fact I know there are more because of some of the little bits of Leptoceratops that come up for sale on eBay. I don't buy them or anything, but some of the things I see suggest to me that these sorts of sites are actually more common than people realize. You just got to know how to look for these things and what the little clues to look for, because we don't find glorious complete skeletons. They're usually scattered, and there's particular patterns that we can look for. So these look great. I love these guys. We moved them in here because they're a little bit fragile. I didn't in my office getting knocked, but I'm going to start building that exhibit once we have the fleshed up models finished.
That's going to be really exciting.
Yeah.
Very, very cool.
Your favorite dinosaurs, Leptoceratops. It's this sort of fat little pig that lived underground and dug underneath all of the Triceratops and Tyrannosaurs, all stomping around and causing trouble. And these guys are just trying to kind of stay out of it underground.
That's a good way to put it.
Yeah.
Yeah, just what a gorgeous model, too. Oh, man. Yeah. Leptoceratops burrowing. I'm so glad I can talk about that now, at least to a certain extent,
Yeah, I wouldn't go on about it too much.
Yeah, I won't.
I need to actually get the paper fully like together, and yeah, we do want to be able to bring the exhibit out with the paper and that kind of thing. But
Did we show off the furcula yet?
no, we haven't been there yet.
Okay, that would be super cool to see. Yeah. I was going to have chat guess what it is, but I already said it.
Guess what it is? Danny already said it. Yeah.
You forget that you heard that.
Just give it 20 minutes, they'll forget it. You can use the steps if you like.
All right. Who, me?
Yeah. It's the second top, so you kind of...
Do you want to use this one?
Yeah, you get this stuff. Oh, yeah.
Thanks.
You and Steve can have steps.
Yeah.
Steve doesn't really.
No, I'm not as tall as Steve.
Not the second. There's a furcula here somewhere. There we go.
Oh,
You
nice.
can see.
So, yeah.
These are all the Gastralia.
Those are the belly ribs right there.
Now, most of them are missing the tip because those go into the block. There's a cross section on the block where we have probably dozens of, little cross sections of Gastralia. But here's the star of the hour.
That is the prettiest one I have ever seen.
It's amazing we have it.
So that's the furcula, and it's Furcula, if you were wondering in the chat. That's the wishbone right there from a tyrannosaur.
And this is a sign to me that most everything should be here.
Yeah.
Especially with all the Gastralia. The skull's just in the center of the block. It's you look at the diagram. The skull's the biggest piece of the puzzle. It's probably a nucleus, so to speak, for the concretion.
So tyrannosaurs had been known for like 100 years before anybody found or identified correctly a furcula. So it's one of those bones that it's very delicate, it's very easily lost, it's very easily misidentified. And so the fact that we've got that here, like Steve was saying, that's really, really encouraging.
Right, like go look at the Sioux monograph. See a picture of that furcula. Does it look a little off to you? It looks a little off to me. Yeah, so...
Just beautiful.
And in the drawer above that I closed because no furcula, there is even more. So I think we've pretty much accounted for all of them. And that's a really good sign.
That's really cool. We have a question. Do those Gastralia look pathological?
Oh, that is a good question. So let me... I think the most interesting is going to be right here. That does, doesn't it?
Oh, man, yeah. Oh, boy, ouch.
Yeah, so these things like to fight, obviously, and if you go back to the Cretaceous, you're not going to find a doctor anywhere, so they just had to heal the way they healed.
Look at that. Can you lift it up so we can so we can see? Look at that. So it's not supposed to look like that.
Look at this big
Holy cow.
chomp through. It's like this is where it was broken.
That is
Just
nuts.
healed so poorly.
So many dinosaurs like this, we find these grievous injuries on them, and yet they're healed. So the animal survived that injury and kept on doing its thing.
There are a number of other Gastralia with more minor pathologies. That one's just pretty notable. I don't know if you've seen these yet. So this is part of the tail.
I haven't seen these.
I took this out in the field because they're in the soft sand just before they contacted the block.
Oh, right.
So this is the same animal. It's just sometimes it's in this nice, soft, workable sand. It's nucleated in this horrible, tough concretion. This is one of the metatarsals. So this is all broken up because this is one of the things Denver found weathering out of the hill when he made the discovery. And so, they dug in and found a better one. And I think we can account for most of those as well. That just has to be pieced together.
Very cool.
Yeah. And here's all the fun stuff.
Yeah.
So, most of the toes are also
Yeah.
accounted for. And so, this would have been sitting on the surface. See how?
That's why it's so light colored.
Yeah. And they bleach. It takes sometimes months. Yeah, it doesn't take long. So this thing probably just started weathering
Compare that
out.
to the brown one right next to it. That's
Yeah, so we dug this up.
yeah. So that one was not on the surface.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's, again, I want to emphasize, from the same animal.
This is, from the same animal that's
Yeah.
in the block. Here's a nice bigger one there.
Nice, yeah.
Yeah, so we have...
So those are the toe claws, everybody, the pedal unguals.
So the feet and legs were sticking out when it was found, and they go into the block. So we'll get to that eventually.
Very cool.
Yeah.
What year was this collected?
So I believe that it was found in 2017.
Okay.
And then 18, 19 were field seasons. It was airlifted in October of 21.
Right, yeah.
And so that's when it entered our lab, was the end of 2021.
So the majority of the fossils that we have here are, pretty recent. Like the major collecting has only happened in the last 10 years for this whole institution. So it's pretty cool. Like, yeah, you can see how much the collection has grown just in the last few years.
Have you seen the Displetosaurus wilsoni Sisyphus material?
I don't know if we looked at it in here.
So these are some real skull bones.
Oh yeah, so Denver was showing off the postorbital or the lacrimal.
Yeah. So we 3D scanned them and mirrored them and threw those in the exhibit. What you don't see in the exhibit is the splenial.
Yeah.
Over there. And my favorite part, I don't know if you've seen this, in terms of all the limb bones on Sisyphus, this is the only one we have. We found this cute little Met 1.
Interesting.
For such a giant animal, it's crazy how small it is.
Yeah, so this is the little dew claw on the side. Is this right or left?
This is... You know what? I don't know. somebody in the chat.
It looks like it would be...
Wait a minute. This is going to be
should be
right.
easy to figure out because it's asymmetrical. Yeah.
Yeah, it should be right.
So from the right foot. So this is digit 1. That's the little accessory claw right there.
Yeah.
We call the hallux.
Yeah, a little story of the dig. So everybody was doing a lot of overburden. One man in particular, Bobby Ebelher. I don't know if you've met Bobby.
Oh yeah.
He did the bulk of the jackhammering season 1. Like he really worked. He worked hard, and Denver said, "You know what? We should give Bobby the most promising patch of sand."
Yeah.
And so Bobby dug and dug and dug, and Denver's finding maxilla and debris. And Bobby's still digging and nothing.
Bobby's Gap?
Bobby's Gap is what it's mapped as Bobby's Gap.
I think he was on the chat before.
Oh, was he?
Econ Spieler or something.
Well, Bobby, I give you credit. He found this premax tooth eventually, this rooted premaxillary tooth.
There's it's this fantastic. Bobby's Gap is this big space in the bone map of the site where it's a wasteland and there's this one little tooth in the middle of it. Everyone else was finding and digging up cool stuff, and Bobby shifted a lot of rock. I want to say thank you to Crispy343 and Miss Capri Kelly. And there were a couple of other donations just made as well, but I think those ones were anonymous. But thank you very much to everyone who's been donating more time for Deanna.
Really appreciate that.
Keep her busy.
So here's the left premaxilla.
Nice.
And this is the first thing. Yeah, this is the first thing Jack Wilson found. So he saw this, and then. I mean, once you see this rugosity, there's only a couple things it could be.
Yep.
Yeah. And so
that was the first discovery.
Yeah.
So this one doesn't have any teeth in there. You can see the alveoli. But
that's so exciting. And that weird surface right there on the underside where it's just flat that's super, super distinctive,
so
right?
There's the front of his snout.
Yeah. Very cool. So there's another one that fits on just like a mirror right there.
And that's in the exhibit right now.
Yeah. Super cool.
Yep.
We had that rib head in there as well.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Usually we wouldn't be too excited about ribs, but this is the only bone that we have from B2 that we can actually sample for growth rings. We're hoping... So usually you think ribs aren't any good because usually people think when they cut ribs they cut like the main body of the rib, and that changes shape so much it won't give you a reliable growth record.
Right.
People have used them before in the past, and that data is junk. It can't be used.
It's too remodeled, as we would say.
But this, I believe, the space between, like in the head of the rib, this part is just basically accreting, and so it can be used to do histology. And I believe the sauropod people as in people that study sauropods, not people with just unusually long necks. Some of them do, though. But they use the ribs to look for growth rings. So we're going to do that with this specimen.
Very cool.
Elias is going to describe all the bits of postcrania that we have. It's not that much, but we're also going to do a histology study across this rib head.
Nice.
So we're very lucky to have one rib head that was found at this site.
There was one other rib. It's on exhibit. I think it's missing some of the head.
Yeah.
So that's what makes this one special.
That's really awesome that you've got that. You gonna send that to Holly?
No. Liz has got
cool.
histology capability here.
That's awesome.
Certainly for smaller things like that, especially.
In-house histo, yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't realize that. Yeah, very cool.
Oh yeah, she's got the saw. She's got the grinding plate.
Uh-huh.
She's going to get started on a lot of that stuff soon.
That's really exciting.
I'm up first with the eggs.
Yeah,
Ah.
Steve's got the egg site. We can do eggshell histology.
Nice.
Yeah, every year we build up our capacity of what we can do here.
Yeah.
And not just that, we build up the people who want to do it,
Mm-hmm.
like students and people who are interested in all these projects that are going on.
Yeah.
Jordan was just here, like just before you got here, and then I've got various projects going on with different people.
Nice.
It's coming together.
Which, just to send the message again, you can pan here.
Yeah.
These are all the jackets. There's more of them that
Stuff just
need
waiting to be
processed.
worked on. It's just
Yep.
better to be prepped. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Yeah, there's a lot of really cool things in some of those jackets.
you can
and some of those
sponsor a
bags.
jacket.
Yeah.
So to speak.
It's,
Very cool.
that's the tail of the Champsosaur that's got skin.
Oh, very cool.
We thought it was going to be a nice articulated skeleton, a job, but then it's got skin, and so we
If you go around,
Paused
you can see
preparation.
the hand.
Let's do that, yeah.
Yeah, probably pause. Like once you find skin.
Yeah.
Oh,
Has there been skin described for Champsosaurs before?
there's one known with skin,
Uh-huh.
but it doesn't have the skin around the edge here. So you'll see some ridges.
Uh-huh.
Those are like, D-shaped scales, along the edge
weird.
of the body. So it's not known to have skin to this extent. So I think this would be the better example. And this is the hand here. You see all the fingers.
Yeah, look at that. Beautiful. So what? Radius and ulna and carpals and phalanges? Yeah.
Phalanges there, yep, with all the claws. Unfortunately, we do have some of the neck. Unfortunately, the head had weathered out many years ago, but we do have the rest of it. There might be at least one back foot, and then we have the whole tail, but it's probably got scales. So
Yeah.
we're working on methods with ultraviolet and infrared light and things to look for the scales and prep the scales. So that's why all these scale projects are on pause.
Yeah, very cool though.
Do you remember what we called that Champsosaur? I'm trying to.
Sir William de Plumpkin.
Sir William de Plumpkin,
It's a guy who was beheaded.
a famous beheaded.
Oh, makes sense. Yeah. Hey, didn't we have a hadrosaur at one point that was called Sleepy Hollow with Museum of the Rockies?
That's what I think John called it. Yeah,
Yeah, it was missing the head.
that one has skin.
Really?
Yeah, I think so.
Ooh, Edmontosaurus, presumably, if
Maybe
it's from the Hell Creek.
I actually don't. I heard that as a rumor.
Yeah.
Someone.
We can cut that out, It's not like this is live.
I spent ages digging that up because I refused to dig up a lump of wood. So I was like, I'll go and dig up that Sleepy Hollow hadrosaur. So I started going around its legs and along the vertebrae. And it was fabulous because there were all these ant lions that lived in the sand there. And then you see a little ant come along and they sort of just come out of its
a
hole. and
sarlacc,
catch the ant. Yeah. I had a good time at that site.
I finished this up recently. This is Liberty's femur.
Oh,
So,
nice. Yeah.
It's a fun little note on that. Sinkhole ate the other half. So it ends here because there's a sinkhole. And we didn't see any signs of skin on this one. It was just exposed bone. But
Can
she
you
does have a femur.
explain to the chat what a sinkhole is? Because I think a lot of people are probably wondering about that. We keep talking about sinkholes, but
It's when the water flows over the edge of the cliff, it eventually goes down cracks.
and this is in the modern day, so this
Yeah.
is on the outcrop when you're out in the Badlands.
And so they're basically just cracks where the water travels down, but eventually the water makes its own hole. These aren't technically sinkholes. Sinkholes are actually related to carbonate environments where the caves get really big and then
Karst
they collapse.
topography, yeah. We call them sinkholes in the field,
Yeah,
though.
we call them sinkholes. They probably have a different name, but basically the water slowly erodes away the rock, and so you get these sort of almost like a well, like just these vertical shafts where the water drains down, then it comes out the bottom of the cliff. And sometimes you get like bison that fell into a sinkhole.
Yeah, we had one at Rudyard like
travel
that.
down and then they come out the bottom of the cliff like 100 years later. That sort of thing. But it also eats dinosaur bones. Like, and unfortunately, this one, the hip area and the top of the femur was just eaten by a sinkhole. There's chunks of bone that came out of the sinkhole, but it's all wet and soft, and it's.
It's like
New fear unlocked right now. Yeah,
it's like joy, and then like I hope this doesn't go all the way down.
Yeah.
Please
just get swallowed by the sinkhole.
Does that happen at the Holger site?
Yes, actually,
Yeah.
Holger has a lot of sinkholes.
I fell down a sinkhole.
Yeah, you did. That was funny.
I heard it was
It took my
amazing to
whole leg.
watch.
I was glad there was no snake in there.
The joys of field
Or
work.
maybe there was, and it
No, you
was,
saw
it was
a-
more surprised than
You
me.
saw a snake a few feet away, though, and you got scared. I wish I had a camera for that.
Well, yeah, very cool. That's
Also, more for Deanna.
yeah. Look at that.
A whole bucket
This
of
is
little
full to the
bags.
bottom?
Yeah.
Well,
Wow.
those ones are micro, so we get a lot of very small stuff that gets foiled up from this site, and there's a real mixture of things in those. So I go through them and open them up and sort them out. But we get like a whole tote like that every year, and it's kind of a nice project to do with a new person. You have to supervise, but especially when we first started that site, we didn't really know what the theropod preservation was like, so a lot of things got foiled up.
Yeah.
So I went through all the 2021 material and found a few nice little theropod bits and stuff in there. So there's probably more to be had, and like Deanna found that little pterosaur cervical vertebrate in there as well. So there's just so much stuff from that site. I mean, you can see the numbers, 550. We have like 500 odd bones from that site, and we've not prepped even a quarter of them, I'm sure.
Jeez. Very cool. So yeah, again, not to be a broken record here, but if you'd like to contribute to the work here, there's links in the chat to be able to do that, and it does make a big difference. I mean, this is not a huge museum, but man, do they do a lot of really cool work, and you can help that work go even faster. Like, the one limited resource that they have is like time for prep, and that creates kind of a bottleneck. So if you can contribute funds so that Deanna can work some extra hours on some jackets, getting for display, it does make a difference. So you made a big difference yesterday, and I think some people did today too. So thank you very much for that. And
This jacket here, this special. This is probably another Alberta Champsa, we think. It's the back end of the skull. We've got a couple of pieces out already, but it's a real delicate job.
Yeah.
It's, I don't know. I just think it's a cool specimen. It's all
And
kinds of
if
things.
you want to learn more, like I said, you could join me on my private stream.
Yes.
It's new. The videos that are up are a little wonky. I'm still learning it, but it's like ASMR. Ask me questions. I'll talk about what we do here. Whatever you want to know. That's Steve Clausen, Natural History Studio on YouTube.
everybody in chat's going to be like, will you stream on Twitch?
Yeah, I mean, that's just the first place. That's where I'm learning. Yeah, I mean, I could see a future where I did that.
I mean, you could. I make my living on Twitch, so like it's,
I'm just having fun.
It's much better monetized than YouTube, and you might get a bit bigger audience too.
Yeah, that's
I mean, you've got a captive audience right here, so yeah.
Well, maybe we'll do that.
Yeah. Think about it.
Yeah, we should set
Yeah.
it up.
If we're working at the same, if I'm ever streaming at the same time, I can raid in. I'd be thrilled to be able to do that.
Oh,
So
yeah.
you've instantly got 300 people watching,
Right.
if you're up for that. But yeah.
Yeah, I tend to do it like evenings after 6, that sort of thing.
After
when I
6
have
here, you're an hour ahead here. So I normally go until 6 Pacific time. So that would be what? How do time zones work again? 7 here.
We're on mountain time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That would actually work.
Yeah,
Okay.
we'll talk about it.
Yeah, cool.
You want to see the... We can go to the brachybone bed. We haven't been there yet.
Let's do that. Yeah, cool.
This is Juvitrike 3.
Yeah, your dad found this, right?
I found that.
Oh, you found it.
Jeez.
Oh, I'm sorry.
It's not called DF Juvitrike 3 because my dad found it. He found...
Dad found
But this is...
That is my pride and joy.
Yeah, well,
or one of them. I mean...
You talk a little bit about Juvitrike 3?
You might have seen it. I think the Burpee have a copy. There's a copy in the Smithsonian.
There's one at UCMP as well. There's a little bit different.
No, sure. No, they don't have that. That's their own.
It is?
So Museum of the Rockies were casting that one with UCMP because Jack wanted a small trike.
Gotcha.
And that same year, I found part of the orbit and was like, well, this is a juvenile Triceratops and there's bone coming out everywhere.
Uh-huh.
And when they dug in, it's basically intact. There's only the backs of the lower jaw is missing. Everything else is there. Everything. It's even the little nose horn.
Yeah.
So it's the most complete juvenile Triceratops. I believe John in the Museum of the Rockies is working on describing it, but I have a cast of it here, which the Museum of the Rockies was kind enough to make for me.
Really nice, yeah.
And Liz painted it up.
It's beautiful.
I got sent I was given a raw cast that we had to clean up, and then Liz painted it. So.
Yeah, it's gorgeous.
I've got to get it on display. I'm just trying to figure out how to arrange all the Triceratops because they're quite big. And so if I want to get them in a kind of order, it's just something I've got to figure out.
Can you tell us what this teaches us about Triceratops ontology, especially in the horns?
Yeah. Scoot back a little bit. It's the moving wheels are the back ones. So Triceratops, when they're young, they just have little short horns, which this is a model, but you can see it. And then as they get older, their horns start to get longer, but they point backwards like this. And then they grow out from the base, and so the base starts to be pointing forwards, and then the tips remodel and point forwards. So you can look at the orientation of the brow horns in Triceratops and see basically how old, how mature the animal was. There are a number of other things too, like the spikes on the edge of the frill. They're very triangular like this when they're young. There weren't actually any spikes found with the specimen, I don't think. Maybe there's one or two. But we have, Danny helped us collect a partial parietal of another Triceratops where we only had 3 spikes with it, so we knew that that's what shape they were. So this is correct. But they're pointy and narrow in the juveniles, and then they get wider and more blunt in the older ones. So it's really interesting, all these changes in ontogeny. And it's slightly different with the different species of Triceratops as well. But this one's a really good example because it's got the nice backwards pointing horns. It's one of... it's called DF Juvitrike 3 because it was the 3rd Juvitrike I found that year. I think I found like 7 in total at some point. They weren't all... This is the best one by a long way, but Little Horny Devil's pretty good too. I didn't name that. That was Sarah.
Oh, it's named after a lizard, right?
Yeah, sure. Sarah was like you, actually. She said, I've got a big list of names that we should name dinosaurs. I've been thinking about this a lot. It's like, oh, okay. That's where Count Dracula came from. And little...
No, it's because I didn't have a list, I think, at the time.
I'm not so sure about that.
Like, I need to come up with some good names when I find more dinosaurs.
Yeah. Oh, well, we may as well look at your dinosaur then.
Oh, yeah. I almost forgot. Oh, boy.
Make a little bit of space.
This isn't it here. He's just moving it.
That's something else.
Yeah.
Too many dinosaurs.
There we go. Oh, man. Yeah.
Back in the day, we were collecting at Rudyard in the Judith River Formation, and I had found a bone bed, a multi-taxi bone bed that's actually got tyrannosaurs in it as well, and called Denver's Humerus too, because there was a nice humerus there. And so I'm digging up this humerus, and I tell Danny, go off and keep looking, I'm going to dig here.
Yeah.
Danny was my assistant at the time.
This is like my first year prospect. This is one of my first times ever prospecting in the field.
Probably, yeah.
Yeah.
And he comes over and he's like, hey Denver, I just found a ceratopsian frill. And I'm like, no, you haven't. And so we go over there. Yeah, he has. I'm like, okay, that's exactly what I wanted to find, of course.
Well, I was kind of annoying about it that day. Like, Denver, isn't that bright-eyed bushy tail?
Not just that day.
Well, like, Denver, what should I find for you? What do you want me to find? And like it's not how it works, Danny. But you said, fine, find me a ceratopsian.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah. So this is what I have on loan that was studying. I actually presented on this at Society of Vertebrate Paleontology 6 or 7 years ago, something like that. But there's not that much of it, but what there is of it is pretty cool. So these are all frill pieces. Totally, and it's fairly pure. The spikes are fused on. They're kind of a weird shape. This should be a new taxon. There are specimens known from the same kind of horizon, but they're fragmentary and reconstructed incorrectly. There you are. Here's the cheek spike.
Yeah.
Beautiful little cheek spike on there. Fused on. Again, indicative of adult. And then this bone here looks like a rib, but actually we're really lucky. This is the parietal. There's not that much of it, but there's enough of it to see that it is the predicted shape of like an ancestral Chasmosaurus. And I presented on this with some drawings by Danny actually about 6 years ago or something. And so yeah, this is another thing I've got to write up. But I've got a few more ceratopsid people around these days. There's not just those bones. There was a tibia with it and a few other pieces as well. This is a different one. This is a specimen that was collected privately. There's not that much of it, but this is a slightly younger specimen. It doesn't have fused epis, and the surface of the bone is more porous. This is classic juvenile texture. There are other pieces with it, some surface pieces, but you saw the main bits. But that's Danny Ceratops. That's when Danny found a new species of dinosaur.
Yep.
Really did.
Yeah. This is one of the things that I talk about in the.
It was the one I wanted to find. I haven't held it against it for many years. Maybe I'll start doing so again. We're going to go next door.
Cool.
It's probably dark out here now, isn't it?
I'm gonna be out at 5 to look at a house.
All right.
So they turn the lights off in the museum, and unfortunately the dinosaurs don't come alive when you do that. I used to do it quite a lot, and it's always a disappointment. See how many times I've done this by where I know where to reach. So.
Oh, Jim Kirkwood's watching.
Jim's watching.
Yeah, Jim says, "Don't get it right, get it written." About the publication.
Yeah, people say that, but you know, I've written quite a lot of rebuttals. So keep it honest, I would say. So this is a site that we found back in 2017, and there are all these bones coming out all over the surface. All sorts of bones like these. Little toe bone. I'm like, oh yeah, there's a nice toe bone that. Loads of things like this. And right there at the site. So here's more. This was all coming out there. Bits of jaw, tail vertebrae. That's a tail vertebra from an ornithomimid, which is actually fairly rare at this site. Other things. And then, best of all, this is a brow hornum and a pseudoceratopsian, probably an Avaceratops, a bit like the Avaceratops thing that we showed you before. So I called this the big horn bone bed because it's a bone bed of horned dinosaurs, right? It was a disappointment because it was just full of hadrosaurs. And so tons and tons of hadrosaurs. Here are some bones. On the surface there's an awful lot of roots and root damage. So this is a pubis, there's a metatarsal, vertebrae, some loads of bits of skeletons. But the interesting thing about this site is we've got lots of skull bones, and they're in this one down here.
Let me scoot on the other side of you right there.
We have a lot of limb bones as well. You can climb up and look. You've seen some of them in the background before. So these ones here are jaws. So these are all the lower jaws.
Nice.
Well, actually, these are lower jaws. And this one was on the surface, you can see. And then these ones are upper jaws. There's a few teeth in there. Been kind of leached by roots. You can still see some little bits of root on there. The roots really ate away at some of them, but I think in the lab, Steve had got out one of the newer ones that we found just last year.
Yeah, that's sitting in the lab right now.
In really nice preservation.
Is that the one under the microscope?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a cool site, and we're getting into better territory with it. It was this knob that projected outward. Almost everything we dug up the first couple years was chewed up with roots. But now that we've gotten deeper, the quality of the bone is improving.
Nice.
But we had good important bones in those rooted ones. So, there's an upper jaw from a sort of medium. And here's an upper jaw from a much smaller individual. Same side.
Oh, yeah. Very cool.
And one of the nice things about this site is these are all more skull bones. We've got postorbitals. So the eye would have been here. We've got serangulars, angulars, all sorts of bones from the skull. These bones are pretty cool. So these are frontals.
Nice.
And we can see that they are the same side. So there's like brain impression here. This is where the eye would be. So I'll put that one back. All this rough surface, this is where the crest articulated. We found a lot of frontals. We haven't yet found a crest that fits onto it. We may have collected one, but we haven't identified it yet. But we have a number of frontals from different individuals. This one is one of the medium-sized ones. This is one of the younger individuals, and we have one even smaller than this. We have two even smaller than this. And so this is Brachylopus. We don't have any sign of the crest on the frontal at all. And then as they get older, the crest gets longer and works its way back over the frontal. And so this is the suture of the crest on the front of the frontal. And then in this medium-sized individual, that suture is all the way back here. So the crest would have been sticking out the back like a paddle. And then a little bit further down here, running out of time.
No, we're good. I'm looking at the chat. Oh, not my watch.
Yeah. Always was a clock watcher. So this is fused frontals from an adult Brachylophosaurus.
Nice. That's both sides right there.
Yeah. So this is the suture, and then the paddle-shaped crest would have been like this over the parietal. So if we look inside, you can see the brain case. That's where the brain would be in there. So we have multiple growth stages. Basically, almost everything we get from this site that's diagnostic is a duck-billed dinosaur called Brachylophosaurus, and we have multiple different growth stages. We have this quite large, almost adult. Then we have another stage. We had those two frontals before. They were from the same side, so we know there's two individuals, the sort of medium-sized ones, and then we have another two different size steps below that. And we've got a lot of leg bones as well. There's some on the tops of these cabinets, and we have even more we haven't prepped yet. And the leg bones we can cut and count how old these animals were when they died. And what's really cool is we seem to have sort of what we call cohorts. So if you imagine everybody's always born in the spring, like many animals, let's just say that's the case, then after a year you'll have 1-year-olds and 0-year-olds, and after 2 years you'll have 2s and 1s and 0s. You don't get like 1.1, 1.2. They're not like humans that are born through the year. So we have these cohorts of these different sort of, growth stages at this site. It's quite cool. The very large, presumably adult, maybe not necessarily fully adult, are quite rare. We have a couple of those. We have a couple of the medium-sized ones. I think we have at least 6 individuals at this site, and probably many more. It's just we've got to work our way in and find more bones. Showing us basically how Brachylophosaurus. Cool thing about this site, though, is I think that this jacket down here really summarizes the site for me. It's one of the reasons I like it.
Oh, yeah.
We left it in the jacket.
Oh, man.
It's actually rather heavy, and I was rested on my foot.
Denver and I dug this up together the first time I went out.
Yeah?
Yeah, we saw it from this side, and we're like, that's perfect for an exhibit.
It's just gorgeous.
So the jacket wasn't flipped traditionally and opened up.
Yeah, we thought we'd just leave it as this side because this just sums up the bone. So that's the hip socket.
So that's where the femur would fit in, right
Yep.
there? Yeah.
And then here's a tail vertebra. And then right next to it is a really big Daspletosaurus tooth, Tyrannosaur tooth. And that's what we find a lot of at this site. We find tons and tons of hadrosaur bones, of course, and we find a lot of Tyrannosaur teeth. Every day, multiple Tyrannosaur teeth. I've got a drawer full of like, I don't know, 100 of them, 50 of them, different ones. And we think... What's interesting about this site is that they're not just the bones all lying flat. They're tipped up on end. Some of them have got kinks like this. So we think that there was a group of a small herd of Brachylophosaurus died for somehow. They're in a mudstone, but they died at the edge of a lake or something like that. And then these tyrannosaurs came along and they just had a beach party for probably weeks. And every tyrannosaur came along and got a mouthful every day. And there's just tons and tons of shed teeth. And all these bones are strewn everywhere. This is called taphonomy, looking at the pattern of the bones that are preserved in the ground and what that tells you about behavior. One of the cool things about this site is we don't find many ribs. We find chunks of ribs. We don't find complete ribs. We don't find many back vertebrae or neck vertebrae. We get skull bones, leg bones, and tail bones. And it's interesting that maybe that tells us something about the way the carcasses area and basically just destroying the ribs and the vertebrae, but there's not much meat on the head, and so the head bones, the skull bones, are actually quite nice, which is very good for us because they're great to study. And the leg bones, they probably stripped some of the meat off. They're a little bit cracked because of all the roots and things, so it's harder to see any tooth marks, but we are looking. But this is a monotypic bone bed, basically. We have almost exclusively Brachylophosaurus bones, annoyingly. Like, we had that beautiful brow horn of a Nasutoceratopsin, and we actually have a lower jaw, probably of a Nasutoceratopsin that we collected, but other than that, it's all brachy. So Liz, my wife, is very pleased because she studies these guys. So it's very much in contrast with the bone bed, Jack's bone bed, which is a multitaxic bone bed, and almost everything you find is a different species. Almost everything you find here is one herd of Brachylophosaurs. And in fact, we have another site in this area, which we call the Choking River, where there are literally thousands and thousands of Brachylophosaur bones all stacked up on top of each other. It's like a huge herd that died either in one flood or in maybe a number of floods over a number of years, but there's more bone than rock. Like it's like a dinosaur monument type site. And it's all incredibly hard rock, and most of the bone is actually weathered away and just leaves holes in the rock. But it suggests to us that out on the delta plains where these animals lived, there were large herds of Brachylophosaurus, and periodically they would just be wiped out by floods or crises like that. And shortly afterwards, the Tyrannosaurs came along and had a good time. And that's a big Daspletosaurus.
Yeah, it's really beautiful.
A big one. That's bigger than any of the ones in B2's skull.
So it's got to be like 30 feet long or more?
I don't know if we can really know, but I mean, it's
if it's bigger than B2 at least.
Small T-Rex size, you know.
Yeah. Very cool. That's such a neat display too, and I love that the jacket is still around it. Like,
yeah, it's a pretty cool specimen. we have lots and lots of other things. I mean, that's what you want to do.
how are you doing time-wise? Because it's just after 5 now.
I'm okay. I mean, it's up to you.
Yeah. Trying to think of what else. Anything else you want to show off in the lab, or?
Yeah, we could go there. We could see that jaw, the jaw that's from deep within Bighorn.
That's
really good quality.
That sounds cool.
Yeah, we could take a look at that.
Let's go check that out.
Steve Swan.
We don't have to see that.
Yeah, we don't talk about sea.
The best mosasaur in the world here.
All right. Don't let me forget the mesh device in there. Yeah. When we take off.
Did the dinosaur move? Hey, that looks quite good. Oh, do you know what? We should get the UV torch and go walking around.
Oh, yeah.
You look at that, I'll find the UV stuff. Should have brought a regular flashlight, but I suppose I could use my cell phone.
Alright.
Some fun stuff going on here.
Yeah.
This, I know it looks like a lump of nothing. Believe it or not, that's half of an ankylosaur metatarsal, rather nodosaur, from the site we found this year. It's tricky, this matrix. This is not the kind of like beginner project, but it will look good once it's done. We had to split it in two because it was just inside of the trench we were digging for the pelvis. This is that lower
Lovely denery there.
prepped by Brian Evasian from the Tate Museum. He came here for a little while. He wanted to prep Cretaceous fossils. So I said that was fine with me.
Yeah, so this is the lingual side, the tongue side. That's where the teeth would be right there.
Mm-hmm.
So you're looking at the left lower jaw right here. Yeah, and then there's the outside of it right there. Really nice.
Not much trace of plants eating this thing. It's nice and deep within the bone bed.
Nice.
Yeah, and it's towards the bottom of the bone bed as well. That's another thing about this site is that the bones aren't all one layer. They're actually over at least a foot, maybe like 50 centimeters almost. So the upper ones are kind of damaged and there's quite a lot of teeth up there. And then as you work your way towards the bottom, they get better quality.
And they're damaged like in the modern day, right? So it's like plant roots and erosion and stuff.
They're both damaged in the modern day, but they're also more broken up in terms of their preservation. So
interesting.
Like the deeper bones probably got buried quite early, and the shallower ones were probably part of the trampling,
right,
things like that. So, yeah, it's not complicated. It's just it's one of those things you've just got to be aware of as you dig down through it.
Yeah.
It's almost like you've got to force yourself to dig down to that bottom layer, which is kind of green, because you think you've got through the bone layer, and there's like an extra 6 inches. You just got to push yourself, so we get the nice things.
Now, if you're crafty with your camera,
Yeah.
you might be able to show some of this. So this is an Adocus turtle we found this year.
Nice.
It's very hard to find. We have some colleagues excited about it. It's a mostly complete shell. It's under air abrasion, so it's covered in powder, baking soda powder, I should say. I use a sodium bicarbonate as the medium. Here, I'll wipe that off a bit.
Windshield wipe in there.
Yeah. It kind of looks like a lump, but it's important for us.
Very cool. So Adocus, that's not a trionychid, right? Different kind of turtle?
No, it's not tri-naked.
Yeah.
What group is it from? It's like the land-living ones, I want to say.
Oh, really? Like basilemes and stuff like that?
It might be related to them.
Huh. So I don't know
It's
anything
one of the
about turtles
biggest.
either,
It's one of
so-
the biggest turtles in the Judith, and one of the biggest turtles in the Hell Creek.
Very cool.
Basilemus is the biggest, but
Yeah.
this guy's a pretty big individual. I was quite amazed that it just turned out to be a Adocus, and there's quite a lot of it there. I mean, they'd asked Heather and Brent had asked us to look for a Adocus, and we've got fragments, and then this whole carapace shell turns up. So Steve's finishing off the cleaning on it, and then I'm going to send them some photographs, and they'll be studying it. They have some nice turtle skulls that we found. So I haven't shown any to you today because they're all down on loan in Arizona.
Gotcha. Yeah, so we had some questions about turtles in the collections, like what's the biggest soft-shell turtle we've got here?
Well, that would be it.
This would be it here. Although this might not be a soft-shell turtle,
Yeah,
but
that's not-
but biggest turtle.
The biggest turtle.
Most
Yeah.
of the Judith is not great for turtles. There's turtle material, but it's all mostly broken up. We have a couple of carapaces like this. The other one's much smaller. But it's not like when we're in the upper Hell Creek where you just get tons and tons of turtles.
Yeah.
Or like where I've been down in New Mexico, you get lots of nice turtle carapaces. It's not the Judith. We've not come across many. We collect them if we see them, like nice plates and things. But they're, like I said, they're broken up. And we've had some nice skull material. Two, 3 skulls now. But bizarrely, the shells are more rare than the skulls for us.
Weird.
So, good problem to have.
Yeah. Yeah, not complaining about that. Yeah. Very cool. So how does the baking soda work with this? 'Cause this, Denver, you were talking about this. You were joking about weird purchases where, what was it? It's baking soda.
Well, take a look at all these boxes from Walmart down there.
No, we were buying laxatives.
Oh, that's different. Yeah.
No, but you said it was baking soda, laxatives, and something else.
Expired laxatives, so they're cheaper.
Expired
They don't.
laxatives, caviar, and diamonds.
That's
Truthfully, they don't expire, but it's pharmaceuticals, so they gotta put a date on that.
I just bought Steve some more laxatives. So. This stuff, it's carbo wax. So you can pay a lot of money and buy carbo wax, or you can just buy it as laxatives, expired laxatives, or even cheaper on eBay. And Steve uses this a lot. Like I used to use it very occasionally when I used to prep stuff, but for particular things, it's unparalleled for particular methods.
That's the key to prepping detailed fossils. Is carbo wax, and some people use cyclododecane. I don't use that here. Cyclododecane's cool because it just sublimates. So you apply it to a fossil, and over the period of a month, it just goes away. So you don't have to use any physical methods or water to get it off. But this works for us.
So what do you use it for exactly? I'm sure people are wondering.
You got your pot right now.
Yeah. So we use a laboratory hot plate. We plug it in to the right temperature. I think it gets about 280 around here. And then we melt it. It comes in a powder form. This is melted carbo wax. We use syringes and brushes of various sizes to apply it to the surface of a fossil that's just been finished from one side. So Deanna will do one of those pterosaur vertebrae, finish it on one side, and to flip it, we'll coat it in carbo wax just to keep that side safe. Flip it around, and then when it's done, there's no need to do anything invasive. You just put it in warm water and the carbo wax dissolves.
Nice.
I mean, that's what it does as a laxative. It goes into our system and does what it needs to do.
It's safe in its way. It's safe to eat. You probably should be careful. But it basically acts like a wax, and you use it to support delicate fossils or delicate crystals even.
It's polyethylene glycol, Mecrogol 3350 for science nerds.
And you can use it for other things. Anyone who's dealing with something delicate, you need to support it. You could actually buy some laxatives, melt them into a wax, pour the wax on, and then whenever your delicate thing is ready to be released, you can put it in water and the wax dissolves. And the great thing is you can then leave the water out and it evaporates away and leaves the wax behind. So you
reuse
just keep reusing it.
What I'll also do is for air abrasion applications, when I'm putting something in that has teeth that are exposed, teeth and air abrasion don't tend to go along very well. They tend to cloud up. I'll paint them in carbo wax.
Smart.
And so if there's any backscatter, it absorbs
protect
the
it from that,
backscatter.
Very cool.
I end up I have a list of all the methods written down because this is my next SVP presentation.
Nice.
I'm going to go crazy on the carbo wax stuff.
Very cool.
But you can use it for lots of things.
Neat. And then the baking soda. Tell us about that. Maybe we'll go look at
the baking soda. I get this Great Value brand in particular because it tends not to be clumped. So others aren't sealed well, and you get a lot of water in there. It's very moisture sensitive. So the step one is over there, all my moisture filters. We don't want any air going into this. I use a Swan Blaster. Once again, I'm not sponsored by anyone, but this is the very best air abrasive machine you can build. It vibrates here to keep the particles from clumping together. So how it really works, I don't know if I'm pressurized. Yeah, I am pressurized. So this controls pressure and powder flow. The powder flow control is key because no matter what pressure I'm at, I want to be able to adjust how much powder is flowing out. Most units don't have a powder flow control. So if I'm prepping a little delicate fish, I'll bring it down to 20 psi and have 1 or 2. But on a dinosaur, just blasting a big dinosaur bone, then I'll go a little heavier with it.
So pressure is the speed of the air, and powder flow is like how many bullets are in the air.
Sure. Yeah.
So you can fire slow bullets that pick off sediment like grain by grain, or you can fire like a machine gun at super high speed and like really blast the sediment. That's me being very crude. But,
When I do operate this, I have dust extraction I turn on, so it sucks the powder away.
Right,
It's
yeah.
still, it gets everywhere in here, but it keeps it from going into the air.
So you're just shooting baking soda at the surface in order to be able to remove the rock, basically.
Yeah, typically under the scope, because almost everything can buckle under air abrasion, and if you can't see it with your naked eye sometimes until it's too late. If this is operated by the foot pedal, we have different sizes of nozzle to accommodate different volumes of powder. So, believe it or not, it's spraying powder, and to prove that, you see I'm etching it right there.
Oh, yeah,
you see all these marks. Sometimes the flow stops, so I'm like, is it?
That's how you're testing if it's working, yeah. But yeah,
It's
that's really, really impressive.
yeah. So a lot of the things you've seen that I've done have been air abraded. That's all there is to it. Really,
Cool, yeah.
You just have to practice a lot. I have chunks of bone that are just worth practicing. I have people blast them. I want you to see what happens to bone when it's being damaged. So something like this, when you take it up, you know what you're doing.
Did you build this enclosure by yourself, too?
I built it with a guy named Wes Isaac. He's one of our volunteers.
Cool.
He does some welding for us as well.
Yeah, that's awesome, yeah.
yeah, he's mounted some of the bones that we've got on display. You usually don't see his work because it's hidden by like a blanket.
Yeah.
So he's built some of those.
Nice.
This top is a reused separator from a school, like when it's a plastic separator.
Like during COVID?
Yeah. We tried to get the businesses like, send us your plexiglass if you don't want it. We got a few pieces.
Nice.
But because we could use it for things like this.
Yeah.
That's the thing. There's at least 50 of them up there.
Yeah.
So most people, when they build a setup like this, will use tempered glass.
Yeah.
What tempered glass does, it has a coating that doesn't attract particles as much. Still attracts them, but this laminate attracts a bit more. So sometimes I have to rub it off the surface, and the laminate can get, just from backscatter, you can have cloudiness.
Sure,
and so
it'll get abraded and it's
occasionally I open it and I use a polishing powder to polishing solution to clean it up, but when it gets really bad, we have so many of these, we'll just swap it for another.
Yeah.
So at some point, tempered glass, sure, but I haven't been having a problem.
Would you ever use one of those window washing things with the magnets? So that you could just pull it across and then the
squeegee?
Magnet yeah,
some
one of those magnet squeegee things?
Like if I could get it in here and
no, I mean
like that.
That's the cool thing is that it's got a handle up here with a magnet, and so you don't actually have to be underneath. You just pull it across, pull it wherever, and it just does it remotely because it's by a magnet.
Oh, okay, that's cool. I haven't thought about that.
Look into that maybe
So
if that sounds
keep
cool.
it here and just swipe the powder.
Yeah, and you can go over the whole thing without having to stick your arms in. Yeah. Anyway, yeah. Should we go fluorescent dinosaurs out there in the hall?
Fluorescent dinosaurs in the hall.
Yeah.
This is something that is new to me. I did not know about this until Denver told me about it. So it's kind of cool that it's after hours now and all the lights are off.
And this all comes into play with preparing the lambeosaur skin as well.
Yeah.
Lighting techniques.
So let's cross your fingers that the signal holds.
Live on
Running into anything.
So one of the things, I'm going to use my flashlight. Hopefully you'll be able to see. Ooh. So here is Bill the Triceratops. You saw him yesterday. So let's imagine you're a millionaire at an auction. You've got tons and tons of money. And you want to know if one of these things is real or not. We were going to do a video like this. Well, I have with me here right now, this is the Convoy C8 UV flashlight. This is a special kind of UV flashlight specifically. It's got a filter on the end, really, really good for bringing out the differences in the different structures. So bone will look different from fill. So if I remove the light and show you, here you can see little bits of glue and putty that are filled in cracks in Bill. Can you see those?
Yeah.
These have been used to fill in the cracks or just bits of paint. So you can see the paints. Now, Bill is real, but you can obviously see there's little cracks and things that have been filled in that the fluoresce a different color. There's some, especially on the back there. There's a splash of paint there. There's the original sediment inside the eye. You can see that's a really dark color. It's got a lot of iron in it.
Yeah.
So if we go look at some other specimens, you'll see even greater contrast.
I harp about this when it comes to fish on my stream.
Interesting.
Here is B2. Now this one is entirely real. This shows us a different feature. So this is the Tyrannosaur, the holotype of Plesiosaurus wilsoni that you saw yesterday. If I put UV on this, yeah, we got to get through. You have to fire it through the glass, but the teeth fluoresce yellow.
That's
or
wild.
And it looks like poster paint, but it's real.
And then on the dennery, you can put it on my restoration as well, because under this kind of UV, exterior.
Oh, yeah.
No matter what kind of putty you use, that's epoxy, lights up like a Christmas tree.
Wow.
So many people are using these wavelengths of light to identify if fossils are altered or sometimes faked entirely.
Yeah. So if we go over to some of these, just we had to go all these lights on. Probably just about make this work.
Yeah, let's hope the signal holds. We're walking away from the router, but
Is it working still?
I think it is. Well, we'll see. We'll see. Yeah.
So here we have some little saber-tooths. These were probably purchased commercially many years ago for display in the museum. If we fire our UV light on them, you can see what's real and what isn't. So the teeth fluoresce yellow.
They're real.
But you can see the whole back of that lower jaw is reconstructed in putty.
Just goes dark.
The jugal arch, the brain case, all putty, just goes black. If we look at this one over here, you can see the back teeth. Those ones are real, but all the front teeth are fake. The fangs are fake. The canines are fake. All that area of the nose is modeled in clay. The back of the skull, the brain case.
It's so dramatic.
Yeah,
Jeez.
it's total contrast.
Yeah.
So you can, if you're buying this, if you're in the business of buying any kinds of fossils at all, get yourself a Convoy C8 UV flashlight. I was recommended this by a group of paleontologists working in Hong Kong, who damn it, I can't remember people's names now. I'm a terrible person. Michael Pittman. And he's looking at using UV to detect all sorts of things in fossils, soft tissues, you name it. But you can also use them to see what's real and what isn't.
Do we still have our model of that?
Check out this one. Here's a cave bear foot. Is it all real? Let's take a look. Looks like some of those end toe bones are either different specimens. The preservation is different. Some of it might be real or fake. Some of it might be from different individuals. If you're a billionaire looking to buy one of these dinosaurs at auction, get yourself a Convoy C8, and I challenge any auctioneers, let someone loose on the specimens you're selling with one of these flashlights, and let's see what's real and what isn't. Because, most of what we have here is real, but I didn't collect these fossils. But we have even more striking specimens elsewhere in the exhibit. So,
do we still have that one available for download on Sketchfab?
Oh yeah,
I think it is. Yeah.
This one you can download a 3D model of that one free on Sketchfab. Hoplophoneus.
It makes a really good 3D print. It's very easy to do.
It's a nice size because you can print it out natural size on a small printer, and it's a nice model. I think some of these do the same thing. Oh, your fish.
Yeah, check out the...
Which one? The little angelfish?
Both of these fish are painted. The little angelfish, put it on the angelfish.
So there's the angelfish. So it looks like a beautiful specimen. Look at that. I'd pay $1 million for that.
Yeah, that dorsal fin. Where'd the dorsal fin go?
Where'd the fish go? It's all paint.
Yeah, there's a little bit of fish torso in the middle.
Yeah.
And, so that fish is like 50% real, 50% resto.
Yeah. And
now shine some on this myoplosis here, because this is mostly paint.
So there's myoplosis from the Green River of Wyoming, and let's see what's real. Mostly paint, Steve says.
Wow.
So real bone should appear as a darker black. So you see like the vertebral column and some of the caudal fin, but the rest of that is paint.
Wow.
If you want to see a much better one, you can go to my stream and watch me. I've been working on a myoplosis.
Nice.
You can see the shark's teeth glowing a little bit.
Yeah.
I think the
Jim said he's very interested in this. He wants you to send him the info, Denver.
all right, yeah. So here you can see that we've got some backlight here. So there's the specimen. There's another one. These are
Oreodont?
Oreodonts or Oreodont related. I think one of them is and one of them isn't. I'm not an expert on such things. But teeth fluoresce. But you can see the jugal arch is modeled, the nose area is modeled, and you can see some of this on the actual fossil a little bit, but it's very, very well disguised. This one, almost the entire face is fake. You can see the teeth are black, the tip of the snout. It's basically a jaw area, and the rest of it has been sculpted on. Then this one here, this is a good example. Here's a Mesohippus from South Dakota, another commercial specimen probably. Let's see what's real of this one. You can see this whole end of the snout isn't real, the back part of the jaws is real, jugal arch again, upper part of the lower jaw, parts of the brain case. Looks like it's got a quite nice tip of the lower jaw there.
Yeah.
But it really helps you to see what's reconstructed and what isn't.
No matter what taxon you're looking at in the White River, the snouts, the fronts of the skull always seem to be gone. And so that's an area of suspicion.
Well, this one's a good one, I think. This is a hyenodon skull, so this is like one of the big carnivores, one of the sort of scavenging carnivores. Hyenodon because its teeth look like hyenas. So another one from the Oligocene of South Dakota. You can see the tip of the snout isn't real. Otherwise, that's actually quite good.
That one's not too bad.
Yeah, this one's pretty decent. We've got a super pig in the lobby.
I think that's the star of the show.
Which is the star of the show, but I'm not sure if the
I don't know if the signal's going to
will
reach.
extend that far, unfortunately. But yeah, you can have great fun and just see, shine it on all your fossils, see what's real and what isn't.
Yeah.
Sometimes you can just see that a skeleton is made of multiple different individuals because the bones all reflect different. You can see that femur isn't real, but the tibia and fibula are. Works a little bit better when we've got the lights fully off. But Convoy C8, if you know any millionaires, tell them to buy one of these. They cost about $120. You get them from Petoskey Stone.
Michigan.
Yeah, Michigan. They use them to find fossils on the shores of the lakes. They walk around at night with
For
these.
Devonian corals,
You can find Devonian corals, and you can find really cool rocks that like fluoresce flames. We've actually got, not fluoresce flames, they fluoresce orange, sort of flame-colored minerals. There's all sorts of things like the ammonites. Some of them glow really amazingly. But telling fake fossils from real fossils, one of these. We bought it for looking at the minerals and things like that. And also for a quick scan over fossils to see if they're skin or soft tissues.
Yeah.
It doesn't work as brilliantly for soft tissues. It's a little bit more complicated than that. But
As you might expect, yeah.
yeah, but it's supposed to work for some. That's what Michael Pittman told us to get one for.
Very cool.
But,
That was
yeah.
really fun. Yeah.
Yeah. If you ever see an auction, or you're an auctioneer, get one of these. Let people walk around and see what's real in your auction, because I bet you most of it isn't. I bet you'll be real surprised by what the people say is real and what actually is real. I think the new challenge with these multi-million-dollar dinosaurs really is how much of it is real and how much of it is fake. Would you pay billions or millions of dollars for a Ming vase that was made out of 3 different vases and had a whole bunch of cardboard making at one side? Well, that's what a lot of these people are buying in auction.
It's pretty bad. Yeah. So again, I don't know. I always say it's much better to go out and dig up your own dinosaur than it is to purchase one, especially at an auction. Or better yet, fund field work. If you're the sort of person who's got a lot of money and you really like dinosaurs, museums like this, holy cow, they can do a lot with not very much money, it would seem. Like, I don't know. Do you want to talk about that, Denver, a little bit? Like your budget for the summer? I know we talked about this yesterday, but I think it bears repeating.
Yesterday, so we spend $20,000 and we do 3 months worth of field work for that with 2 to 3 crews, so 10 to 15 people on a crew, and we work 6 days a week. So on average in a week, depending on the weather, we basically work every day we can, and then if it looks like it's going to rain, we go resupply. And we keep collecting, and we're building up more and more material. We prospect, and we work on these bone beds as well, and just collect really good stuff. And we camp on public lands in very, very basic camps. We don't have anything fancy. We have a grill.
It's good to have a grill and a fridge.
In Havre, we have pit toilets.
Luxury.
That is a luxury.
I consider that a luxury. I take away that privilege to some people.
We have a reservoir that is good for swimming.
Nice.
It really is.
Yeah.
Sandy beach.
No, I mean it's pretty cheap when you live cheaply out there.
Yeah.
You know, we eat well. We don't like eat rubbish, but most everybody who comes out has a good time. But yeah. 20 grand.
20 grand for 3 months of field work.
For 3 months.
And I don't know how many dinosaur specimens you're bringing back every summer, but it's a lot.
Yeah, we got a grant to helicopter this one out, but we found it as part of that field work and all these things we collect, all the big jackets mostly. We've only helicoptered once, and everything else we've dragged it out with trucks and things.
And like commercially, does that amount of field work and the prep that follows, does that justify $40 million in many of these specimens?
No.
Especially the cardboard ones?
Yeah.
Think about that a
Poorly
little
made
bit.
3D printed ones.
Yeah. So it's an important point to make. Yeah. And if, again, to repeat, if you want to help support this kind of work, you get a lot of bang for your buck. Like, I always say that paleontology is one of the most cost-effective of the sciences. Like, what you're able to get for the amount of funding that goes into it is incredible. So, if you want to help pay for Deanna here to prep some more of these fossils, that would really help out a tremendous amount. Like I keep saying, that's the bottleneck here. Getting these fossils prepped so they can go into collections and they can go on display and they can be studied and published and enjoyed by the public. You know, that's the difficult thing, is actually getting these things prepped, because going out and collecting them, they're very good at doing this, but you need people to sit down and actually clean the rock away from the bone, and that's what Deanna and Steve do.
Yeah. And fieldwork has its own difficulties, obviously, but this is more time consuming and involves more training. So to start somebody up, it takes years to become professional at this. And I think Deanna is one of 2 of us in Dickinson. So I would like to turn more people into great volunteers or even professionals. And this is where you can get started.
Cool. Yeah. So if people want to find out more about the museum, if they want to get in touch, if we've got somebody who wants to have the museum named after them, maybe they've got a lot of money, who do they talk to, Denver?
You can send me an email and we can talk. Like we are doing a multi-million-dollar expansion. We're building new collections and extending the lab, and we are going to refurbish the exhibit. But we really do need to find some more money to work on the exhibit and really do these specimens justice. And everything is up for naming rights. I mean, we really are looking for people who are interested in that sort of thing. I mean, I use Mr. Yale as an example. Like, say, get in early. Mr. Yale knew what he was doing. Yale University, very famous place, you might have heard of it. Mr. Yale donated money back when Yale was founded, the university. And in modern dollars, he donated about $120,000 worth of stuff, and they named it after him. So he got in real early, got a deal.
There are pickup trucks driving around in this town that are more expensive than that.
Well, exactly. So, you get in early in a museum. We're very ambitious, and we've got some great fossils, and our aim is to be one of the biggest museums in the northern Great Plains, and eventually the western United States. But, you get in early and help build this place up. We're going to have one of the biggest collection spaces, the biggest labs in this region soon. And, we've got great specimens. We're working on getting those described. And this could be the Steve Clawson Museum of Dinosaur Paleobiology.
I'll pour all of it.
Yeah.
Start borrowing, getting those lotto tickets.
Everything you give me, I'll just
separate that. Danny Anduza Hall of Dinosaur Paleobiology, that sort of thing. I mean, I'm not joking. Danny wins the lottery tomorrow. I kind of expect it.
Email me.
You're not wrong to expect it.
He even sponsor a piece of equipment.
Yeah.
I'll write your name.
That'd be really cool, actually.
Like,
yeah.
buy me
you
one
can pick
of
the font too.
Yeah. Your name will be on it.
Yeah.
Yeah. We're open to things.
Yeah. Well, awesome. Thanks so much, everybody, for showing us your expertise, like showing us all the fossils and everything.
Absolutely.
Thanks for sharing your time. This has been a ton of fun. I know the chat really appreciates it. So, yeah.
Yeah. You can follow the museum on Facebook. I've got a Twitter account and
Blue Sky too now.
And Blue Sky as well now.
Yeah.
So we regularly post photographs of new fossils that have been prepped and that kind of thing. I don't do it like every Friday. I do it when we've got something that's actually worth seeing. So when I post pictures, it's like a cool thing we've just prepped.
Yeah.
And that kind of thing.
Quality over quantity.
I have a Blue Sky. I post some more things there.
Nice. Do I follow you yet? I gotta make sure.
Yeah, it's sort of new, all of us coming here. So
Yeah,
I don't know. I don't know who follows me. I don't remember who I follow, but I'm growing some followers there.
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah. Well, awesome. I'll go ahead and wrap this broadcast up, but thank you again, everybody. This has been awesome. Yeah.
Thank you, everybody, again for all the donations, and thank you for watching. It's a big deal for us to get recognized and to get seen.
Absolutely.
Because we're trying hard, but
Yeah.
Thank you for watching.
Awesome.
Thank you very much.
All right. Let me go ahead and hide over there in collections, and we'll do a raid, and we'll go ahead and end the broadcast. But don't go away just yet. We're gonna see if we can raid into somebody else who's doing some science right now. So let's see who else is on at present. Let's see here. Open up Twitch. And following. Let's see here. Today is Tuesday. Constababble is on. Wow. Let's go have some science chat with Constababble. I think that'll be great. Here, my channel. Ontogeny. Chat. Raid. Constababble. There we go. Excellent. So Constababble is a science communicator. She talks about climate change and biodiversity and just kind of science literacy. So that's going to be awesome. Yeah. Thank you, everybody, again, for tuning in today. This has been such a privilege to be able to stream from here. So excited to show you around the museum and introduce you to all the cool folks who work here and just give you a taste for what this program is all about and why it's so important and why it's so special. So really glad this all worked out, and you will be hearing about some really cool things coming from the Badlands Dinosaur Museum over the next few years, and now you know about it. You've heard about this before, so many other people have, and so you're kind of in on the ground floor to a certain extent. And I'm really proud to have been